one. Now, there could be some sort of trade up. I mean, I think I'm the only one out there probably absolutely believes that is going to happen. But we shall see. What do you think? The odds are, if I were to do a Connecticut Water question of the day right now, are the odds you think favorable for one of the two second rounders to be dealt away? I think those are probably the best odds that you're going to find across the board. For example, I know a lot of you are sending me stuff regarding your bets you're making in FanDuel right now, which is great. But those would be my odds that the Colts end up trading up with one of those. Now, I hope they don't. You know where I stand on this. Listen, this is a draft that is going to be packed full of wide receivers, the best depth, as we're told, that we have ever seen in an NFL draft at that position. The Colts need it, and they need more than one, so just do it. It's wide open for you right now. You got what you wanted out of 13. Clearly, you didn't have your eyeball on any of these so-called top 4 quarterbacks. Or maybe you could have done something with that at 13. You chose, as Chris Ballard normally does, to build up front. And then you got DeForest Buckner, so you're up front now defensively. You're up front now offensively. Work on something that has been an issue, and I mean a huge issue, with the good and the bad of Chris Ballard during his tenure here. It has. I mean, even in the good, it was bad. Even in that lone so far postseason for Chris Ballard running the show, it wasn't a great year for their wide receivers. They had one savior midseason. T.Y. Hilton's the standby. There's no doubt you count on him. But do it. Couple of wide receivers and move forward right now. And I'll be preaching this again tomorrow, too. Yeah, like I put it yesterday, and a lot of you kind of chimed in with me. Yeah, make it a must selection of a wide receiver. Do that for us. Because that is absolutely what is necessary. I got a great question. A fantastic Connecticut Water question of the day. Is there anything this roster needs more via this draft than it does for there to be two productive wide receivers? Two contributing wide receivers. Because you got to keep in mind what they believe this team can do coming up this season. I mean, they bring in a 38-year-old quarterback, and it's not just to say, you know what, you've been really good so far in your career. Here's a final year. Here's a going away kind of Andrew Luck parting gift of sorts. $25 million. Here you go. Now, they expect him to win. They expect him to take that position to a higher level. They expect to win. And as I've said before, if Phillip Rivers isn't here for at least 2 years, then this entire thing is a disaster. It's a mess. But do you honestly think that there is a position that needs an absolute hardcore must-select, must-address in this entire draft as much as wide receiver? I will contend that they need two wide receivers more than they do any other position right now. And what I mean by that is they need two contributing, productive wide receivers more than they need to address any other situation on this team right now. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? And this is just not somebody who believes in the position. This is not somebody that believes that you have to have guys, as Rick Venturi told us back on Monday, talking about separation, why he believes, why he feels, why he hopes that Denzel Mims from Baylor is that 34th overall selection. If he's available, he likes him. He's a bigger dude. He also, at Baylor, he got a great deal of separation. Now, I will grant you this. I mean, Baylor wide receivers of the past are sketchy at best. But I tend to agree with Rick Venturi on that. I mean, we're all talking about the bigger wide receivers because the past with Phillip Rivers has dictated that is what he has been throwing to. That's what he has been successful with. And the Colts, and mind you, do I still respect T.Y. Hilton? Absolutely. Do I like Zach Pascal? Absolutely. Do you hope that Paris Campbell makes a turnaround and is healthy in his second season in the NFL. Absolutely. Hey, do you really hope that Reese Fountain can come back from that camp injury and give them something this year? You do. Anybody got let me see a show of hands. Who's counting on that? Who's counting on any of that? I think the only thing right now that I would accurately count on is that T.Y. Hilton is going to catch some balls, and I think T.Y. Hilton is going to stay more healthy than what we saw a year ago this year. I would still be, because of the age factor, a little bit iffy on the absolute counting on it, but I would count on that more than anything else that position would dictate to me right now. So add two good ones. Add two guys that can help you right away. I think they need to address that position with two selections that can help you right away more than they need to address any other position right now on this team. The way that it stands. Who's with me on it? Anybody? That is my stance, and as I've said, I give you a must selection of two wide receivers. Kind of funny. So we'll talk about Trey Burton. Now remember, we were on this on Friday's show. Trey Burton was released by the Bears, and we talked a lot about how this seemingly would be a really easy connection, an easy fit to make, because they certainly have a need at tight end. I still think they have a need at tight end. I mean, Jack's a year older. Trey Burton's coming off some disappointment and some injuries. And Mo Alley-Cox, as much as we like Mo, I have no idea what Mo Alley-Cox is going to give you. I mean, is he going to be that, hey, you know what, he played basketball in college guy, and oh, what a great story. Is he going to give you something, or is he not? You going to count on it? So I still think they need to address the tight end position. A lot of you suggest they don't, whatever. But those two skill positions to me are the most important. And I'll grant you this. At some point, which I'm going to assume will be next year, I mean, you're going to have to target Anthony Costanzo unless they know something more about Anthony's intentions in the next 2 years than we do. You're going to have to start to bring somebody in that you really trust. Yeah, before Anthony Costanzo, that was a tough thing. Remember Chris Poley? One of the chief reasons why, besides just kind of losing and the fact that everybody was ready for a change, remember they made the transition from the Bill Polian era. Bill wanted Chris to be the guy, and Chris' selection was Tony Hugo, remember back in the day, a left tackle. He was going to take over Tarek Glenn, and that didn't work out, and then they ultimately had to dive back in with another first-round pick and Anthony Costanzo, and he has sustained. And really, you talk about a linchpin to all of what we're talking about right now. I mean, anything across the board with this Colts team, that is it. I mean, that is the reason why we're able to have this conversation. That is the reason why we're talking about this instead of talking about number 13 later on tonight. Because if they don't have Anthony Costanzo back again next year, then we're not talking about this at all right now. Not talking about it at all. To me, there's no move for Phillip Rivers. There's sure as hell no move for DeForest Buckner. And we're probably talking, what are we talking about right now? If Toscanzo, we're talking about that what's his name from Louisville that had the incredible.
Yeah, you're talking about which of the four offensive linemen is going to drop to 13.
That's what we're talking about at 13. Yeah, the Becton kid from Louisville. That's who we're talking about. Man, it'd be great if they could get up and get him. Mel Kiper Jr. has him around number 10. It'd be great if they could. That's what we're talking about right now. Or the Wills kid from Alabama, maybe. I don't know. But that's exactly what we're talking about right now. And Anthony Costanzo coming back gives us the opportunity to not only talk about Buckner coming here and dealing 13 and really feeling as if that is the move to make right there. It's a completely different draft without that. Without question. But is there any position that needs to be addressed on this Colts football team more than the wide receiver, not once but twice? Not just once. I mean, the easy call is once. I mean, hell, anybody can look at that and go, oh, yeah, you need a wide receiver. But I'm not talking about once. I'm talking about twice. Where is the priority, or where should the prioritizing of that position be? Especially when you're talking about the greatest all-time draft year for that position, the deepest, most talented, those that can help you that aren't necessarily within the top 3 of Lamb or Ruggs or Judy. I mean, look at all the names that they consider capable of helping and helping right away, and who should be there. It's not going to happen. I mean, it's certainly my pipe dream here, but would anybody at all be upset if they kept 44 and went back-to-back 34 and 44 wide receiver? I tell you what, that would make my weekend. We would have one hell of a B105.7 JMV takeover Saturday night. I would have a sports arousal that would last the entire weekend. That's what they need. That is what they need. As I brought up before, and Rick Venturi brought up on Monday's show, the lack of separation. And not only was that a problem a year ago, that has been a problem forever around here. That has been a problem certainly since Chris has taken over. Now, again, have they tried to address needs? They have. I mean, hell, they drafted Paris Campbell a year ago. There's no question. Injured, and maybe he comes back and he's healthy. He's not dealing with a multitude of injuries. You certainly believe that he can give you that type of separation. But again, we've been down this path before. I mean, really with anybody. I always think back to Deion Kane, and I've told this story before. Deion Kane a year ago was coming off of that injury that sidetracked his rookie season. And remember, everybody was kind of chill a year ago at this time. They were happy when Paris Campbell came off the board. I know everybody was happy, but everybody was chilled out about, hey, you know what? Deion Kane's going to be something here. And the Colts had to feel that as well. Why? Because they allowed Deion Kane to be a part of a video, Colts.com video kind of documentary of his injury and then his work back to return. I mean, that's pretty far to go on a dude that if you're thinking he probably wouldn't make it the entire year as he didn't this past. So there was some belief there, and it didn't work out. I mean, listen, just stock your side of the pantry a little bit here. Go ahead and do it. It may not be your forte, and it sure as hell may not be your belief, but it is the damnedest truth right now. They need more than one. And they won't. They'll probably trade 44. They may trade 34. Who knows? They may feel that they can go low or get something else, get another pick, trade out of 34, and maybe have 44. Hell, I don't know. 44, and then another pick after that between 44 and 75 in the third round. But I would take full advantage of it while it's here. Something that has been addressed, but it hasn't been positively addressed. They've taken shots at it. They have tried. There's no question about it. But other than the guy that was a precursor at wide receiver that Ryan Grigson brought here and T.Y. Hilton. I mean, what else you leaning on right now? I love Zach Pascal. Don't get me wrong, but he's not going to be your number 2 here. He can be important. He was important a year ago. But go out and get a couple that can help you in the now, because clearly you want to win in the now. I mean, you're bringing a 38-year-old man in here to quarterback because you want to win right now. You're bringing in a reclamation project of Xavier Rhodes to play in that secondary because you feel that that's a better option than what Pierre Desir was there. You're going to bring him in to win right now. I mean, hell, you go out and fill a gap that you had at tight end with a veteran. What is Trey? What is he? 29 years old with a 29-year-old tight end that people would suggest had, great years or a great season, certainly with Frank Reich. Everybody loved him at the end of that Philadelphia Eagles championship season. But Trey Burton really didn't do too much in Chicago. I mean, you bring a guy like that in here, again, a reclamation project with the belief that he can help you win in the now. And there's no doubt everybody wants to win in the now because nobody's going to say, hey, you know what, we're better suited to win 15 years down the road or 5 years down the road or 2 years from now. Everybody's going to tell you we want to be built and our goal is to win right now, but are you positioned? If you feel what you have at quarterback has put you in a much better position, go out and get this old dude some weapons. Go do it. I probably will be repeating this speech at some point tomorrow, I would imagine. Go out and get him some weapons. Top priority. And again, listen, this would be different. I'm not saying just go out and throw some darts at some half-ass wide receivers. But if this indeed is a class at that position of the ages, man, take advantage of the fact that you got a 34 and a 44. I mean, hell, Chris Ballard probably is going to be able to dictate some terms on this. Think about that. Think about the fact that you got the guy that you wanted up front defensively for the 13, and you can still get year one productive wide receivers in the second round because of the depth at that position. Take advantage of it. Take full advantage of it. We can discuss that at 239-1070. That topic's not going anywhere. JMV at 1070thefan.com is the email address, at JMV1070 on Twitter. Yeah, we were talking about Marquise Lee. Listen, I'm in a position with that position to, what do they call it, kick the tires, to take a look at anything. But I'm not, depending upon what they do, right, in this draft, I'm okay with the sidestep of Marquise Lee. I am. I'm okay with it. And you know what else is interesting? When you look about this free agency period, you look about the wide receivers that were available. And I know that Chris Ballard last week said that they had some interest in a couple, and Kyle and I were knocking around those that maybe they had interest in. I think we came up to the conclusion maybe it was Brashard Perryman, maybe. That ended up with the Jets, right? From the Buccaneers to the Jets. Is that where he went? Perryman? And maybe Robbie Anderson. I would doubt Robbie Anderson because I think Robbie Anderson got paid pretty well. I'd have to look it up. But Robbie Anderson went from the Jets to Carolina. Yeah, and obviously it was not a star-studded. It wasn't even an exciting free agent 2020 at that position. But, I mean, Chris Ballard is all in on the build from the ground up and not have to utilize free agency. And they did this year. And they did heavily because you paid a 38-year-old guy $25 million to quarterback your team. But, I mean, this is the perfect opportunity in this draft to do just that. Go back-to-back wide receiver. Go back-to-back wide receiver, select tight end, and then have my sports arousal last for weeks upon weeks. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. So we'll take that. YouTube Live, if you guys want to jump on there, if you have any questions, we'll address that. Hell, if you have any answers, I'll address that. But we're utilizing YouTube Live a lot more now. I got a pretty sweet shirt. The first to identify this shirt, I try to wear a different, I'm trying to think how many T-shirts I have. I have like a zillion of them because I'm a T-shirt guy. I'm not a button-down shirt-wearing dude. I'm a T-shirt guy, and I have a million of them, and I try to wear a new one every day, and this is a new one today. See if you can identify the yellow shirt. This is kind of pea yellow I'm working here. Identify it, and we'll have some fun within YouTube Live if you're okay with that. Matt Taylor, bottom of the hour. They're going to have your coverage for the NFL draft. Do they start that tonight? Are they doing tonight or just tomorrow? I'm assuming they're doing tonight, right? Yeah, both Thursday and Friday at 7. We need to have just a fantastic – are we going to have anything goes leading right into their tomorrow night? I think for night number 2 of the draft coverage right here on our station with the Colts and the radio network, folks, I think it's a must for us to have the lead-in that is anything goes. I mean, where else will Donk call in and call everybody out and go right in to your Colts draft night coverage? I think we do. We have our fingers crossed for that tomorrow, but their draft coverage begins later on tonight at 7 o'clock. I mean, hell, I could give them a little anything goes tonight, too. We could do it tonight and tomorrow. That's like the best lead-in of all time right there. I will tell you this. We've only done it, I think, especially since we've had this last month and what we're dealing with. We've only done anything goes on Fridays at 6 o'clock. But, man, you guys love it. You guys love it. Sometimes I'm kind of wondering. I'm wondering what you're going to say that I'm going to have to deal with a couple of hours later. What are you going to say that is going to make my phone buzz or ring a couple of hours later? What do you think? We could do anything goes as a lead tonight and tomorrow night. I think that would be swell. I know there are a lot of folks out there would be digging on that too. Hey, I saw this a little bit earlier. Hey, look, there's a video of me looking at my watch. That's a video of me that doesn't make me look fat. How'd they do that? Did they do something? Did they do something with that video? I saw where Jim Irsay was on Twitter a little bit earlier in trying to hype up and help out the Indiana local restaurants around here, Indiana restaurants in general. So I'm always appreciative of that because we tried to do our part throughout and give local business and especially local service industry workers shout-outs, whether you're talking about restaurant and bar or just restaurants or just bars or what have you. Because we know, I certainly know, going out as much as I go out. I mentioned yesterday when we are able, when we get the thumbs up, I cannot wait to go back out again. I cannot wait to get drunk on the air again. I mean, I could do it right here, but it's not as fun as when I do it with you guys. I can't wait. That's what makes anything goes really good on a Friday, if we're all half in the bag by the time 6 o'clock rolls around. But no, I can't wait for that, seriously. But I saw Jim Irsay drop that a little bit earlier, too, and I was tempted to give. I don't want any recognition for it at all, but tempted to give a lot of our local favorites out there. Obviously Cappy and the gang, down at the Slippery Noodle I love, and Ryan Nally, Average Joe's, Mike Manley's Irish Mud over on the east side. I'm going to forget folks, and I apologize. I don't mean to. Give some love to the Schnitzelbank down in Jasper. Johnson's Barbecue in Bargersville. They know I love them a great deal. My friends at Taxman in Bargersville, they know I love them a great deal. So, yeah, just take a look at that. And at the very least, you can drop in some names of your favorite places and give them pub that they wouldn't ordinarily at this time get, which is really important. You guys buying, speaking of the draft, the Bengals not wanting anything to do with Miami's overtures about number one. That's according. Why is Schefter doing this, too? I thought he was completely against this. Was he not going to sit this out? I know McShay's already sitting this out because he's been battling the coronavirus, which sucks. I thought that, was that or the schedule release? So Schefter's okay with this, but not with the schedule release? What is he not okay with?
I think you keep some better tabs on Schefter than what we do.
I just go ahead and set it out.
Rivalry with him.
Set it out, brother. I'm glad that it's here. I'm jovial that it's here. Like, I got a couple of emails and a couple of texts this morning saying, you know what? It's almost like this is the damn Super Bowl because nothing's been going on. I am so glad that it's here. I am too. That doesn't mean that it comes with a disrespect to what the entire globe is battling right now. It just says, hey, I'm glad we all have a little sports entertainment, real-time sports entertainment. If you felt that way, just go ahead and set it out. Set it out.
Is this the most exciting sports day we've had since the Big Ten tournament, which we thought was going to happen?
Easy. It's that, that Thursday?
Over a month ago.
That Thursday in March when I was down at the District Tap. and all this started to settle in. Remember when I said we were going to have to build a bunker in my backyard and I got ripped for it? You okay? Yeah, since that time, easily. Yeah, I saw where Miami, at least reportedly Miami, multiple times said they would, the Bengals told Miami they would not trade number 1 overall for the package that the Dolphins had going. Apparently it was 5, 18, and 26. Would you do number 1 for 5, 18, and 26?
Yeah, because I don't think there's a huge difference between Burrow and Tua. So if I knew I could grab Tua at 5, I'd do it.
You going to get Tua at 5 or you going to get Herbert at 5?
I'd take Tua.
What if Tua's gone by 5? Then you have to take Herbert?
I think I'd go a different direction. I'm not a big fan of Herbert.
I'll be honest with you, and I know that elite level quarterbacks don't grow on trees, so they say, but I'd be very interested. I might go 5, 18, and 26 for 1. I might do that. And I'd draft 3 wide receivers. That's what I would do. I tell you, I'd win you 2 games. I'd look good winning you 2 games. So Matt Harms is going to BYU. So was there, like, any realness with the Kentucky and Texas Tech, or was he going to BYU all the time? That's the way. You want to get that 7'3" spotlight back on you at BYU. I get to watch it because you get to play Gonzaga a couple times a year. So I'll be up middle of the night watching the WCC late night on a Thursday night. Good for Mark Pope, I guess. Yeah, the Kentucky thing, you go, oh, okay, a little more spotlight. You kind of wonder why, but yeah, BYU. Anyway, that's the latest, too. And Demezy Anderson's in the transfer portal, right, of IU, and that should surprise nobody. I got more clock than he did last year, so that should surprise 0. None. And shout out to Greg, who actually texted me this morning and said, yeah, you know what, this is what's going to happen, and it did happen. And I give credit where credit is due. I don't take it. I give it. Shout out to Greg. Quick break, and we'll come back. The voice of the Colts going to join us bottom of the hour. Their draft coverage tonight and tomorrow night is right here. Matt Taylor's going to be with us. Mike Chappell in the 4 o'clock hour. John Clayton is going to join us. That is coming up at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Is Mike Greenberg on here tomorrow? Is he doing the draft coverage, or are we talking about Get Up? Do I have to talk about Get Up? I don't know. How am I going to do that? Good Lord. Quick break and we'll come back. Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, on the other side. Let's get some phones rocking, some YouTube live going, and some tweets rolling at JMV 1070. Back with you next.
This corona culture we're living in is just another example of how life can throw some unexpected challenges at you. This is Dan Dockich. When you're faced with difficult times, it's always comforting to have a professional on your side who actually cares about you as a person. If you or someone you know experienced an accident as a driver, passenger, rider, or pedestrian, keep in mind what my guy, Randy Sevenish and Sevenish Law recommends during these challenging financial times. Do not try to negotiate with the insurance company yourself, thinking you are saving money, and be wary of discount lawyers. A quick payday may not be best for you. Do not leave money on the table. It's your money. Even though some courts are closed right now, Randy is still here for you. He's able to meet with you and still take the next negotiation steps for resolution. Do not hesitate to take on the insurance giants during these tough times. Call Sevenish Law, the fierce protectors of the injured, where you're treated like a person, not just a case number. 317-636-7777 and SevenishLaw.com.
Evacuated from the building while it undergoes black mold removal and
turn that off.
$15 million in repairs.
Turn it off. Yeah, I saw it. Well, you hired the contractor. You tell me what happened. So you're saying we cut corners?
Imagine if students on your campus were left out in the cold because somewhere someone cut corners. Building owners and customers are often kept in the dark about the risks of poorly installed mechanical insulation. The Heat and Frost Insulators Local 18 Code of Workmanship doesn't allow anything below specification. The Insulation Contractors Association of Indianapolis ensures your job is done right. Every project, every time. Learn more at insulators18.org. The Brothers and Sisters of Energy Efficiency, insulating you from escalating costs.
We are Local 18!
Hey, it's JMV during the NFL Draft. Place your bets with FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 online sportsbook for a reason. Legal, secure, they have all the bets you could want, an easy-to-use app, promotions every day, and you get your cash fast when you win. And FanDuel Sportsbook has a special offer for all new users. Bet up to $25 and get plus 200 odds on Joe Burrow being the first overall selection of the draft. Joe Burrow, for example, plus 200 in a designated market rather than minus 7,000 in a common market. You catch my drift here? Yeah, you can win. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app from the App Store or visit FanDuel.com/Android and sign up with the promo code DRAFT1 to bet up to $25 on Joe Burrow going first overall at plus 200.
21 plus, present in New Jersey, Indiana, or West Virginia. First online wager only. Offer limited to first 500 participants. Must wager on designated boost market. Max bonus $50. Promo code required. Gambling problem in Indiana. Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Sports with Dan Dockich.
The Forrest Bucknut.
When that offer came into my agent, he, told me the offer. I mean, for a team like Indy to want me and, where they wanted to put me in, the position they were going to put me in, I mean, it's only to succeed, to put me around a lot of talented players on defense. Darius Leonard behind me, Justin Houston on the line with me, you got Kenny Moore at corner. It's a really vicious defense, and I'm excited to get things rolling now.
Dan Dockich, weekdays, noon till 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
I'm the bullish prince.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hold on, that's me. You hear that buzz right there? That's operator error. That sound better there? There we go. Our next guest needs this. We do this with Mike Wells with the Slow Jamboree entries every Friday. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, the voice of the Colts is Matt Taylor. Matt, like Mike Wells would, start singing this, would you? Go ahead, leave this up. Turn it up. Give it to Matt Taylor. Matt, take the mic and go with it.
'Cause I was running down a dream, never would come to me. Working on a factory, going wherever it leads. Yeah, I'm running down the dream.
Well done, man.
That's the live version right there. That's the live version.
I had to pull that out of my ass really quick because I wasn't ready, which is shocking to nobody. Yes, right there.
Full moon. Yeah, shocking to not I.
I know it. It is shocking to nobody. Hey,
Good full moon fever poll right there.
No doubt. I was thinking about you. I was going to go Don't Do Me Like That, but I didn't have time enough to look it up, so I just picked that and ran with it.
That would be hard. That would be hard for me to lip sync or radio sync to that one. Did you know?
Go ahead.
A little trivia on that song. Did you know Tom Petty wrote that song originally for Jay Giles band, and they didn't want it.
Really? I did not know
they
that.
Didn't want it. Yeah,
that's outstanding.
Had a chart topper. Yeah.
Have you seen the HBO documentary, the 3-parter that has Dr. Dre and then the producer dude that produced Tom Petty in the early stages of his career?
Yeah. What is his name? I've seen bits and pieces of that.
That is so good, man. That is so good.
Damn the Torpedoes is what he produced.
Yeah, and their relationship fell apart because Petty was coming out with another album, and then Stevie Nicks, who he was he and a Sheehan with was coming out with something, and they did a duet, and he did more work with her than he did with Tom Petty. I think Tom Petty was resentful for the rest of his life about that. So yeah,
and it kind of killed their singles coming out at the same time. Because Jimmy Iovine is who we're talking about.
Yes, exactly. Right? But I mean, he was also he was fiddling and diddling with Stevie Nicks. So who the hell cares? So whatever. Well, job well done. All right.
And I like Stevie Nicks. Like I'm not a hater of hers, but she basically kind of crawled her way into having Tom and the Heartbreakers help her out with her career a little bit, because she she knew what those guys, especially Tom, what they could do for her. And I'm not sure, her career is what it is without Tom kind of helping her out a little bit.
I'm with you.
He wrote a handful of duets for her.
Yeah, I am with you. I'm with you on that, too. I am. Those are great stories from back in the late 70s and early 80s right there, though, for sure. Matt Taylor's the voice of the Colts on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Matt and the gang later on tonight. Night number 1 of your draft coverage begins at 7, then back at you for when, at least on paper right now, the Colts will make their selections beginning in round 2 at 34 and 44, and round 3, obviously, 75. Matt, we've been talking about this at great length. My dream, speaking of running down a dream, is for them to, really be focused in on the wide receiver. And given the fact this draft is as deep and talented at that position as it's ever been, it just seems like it is as obvious as the nose on your face that you not only, to me, you need one. I think they need to go 2 high-level, can help you right away guys before they address any other position. What say you?
Well, if they want to go that route, the good news is it sounds like there's going to be plenty of choices there, plenty of guys that are worthy of, at the wide receiver position being taken at 34 and 44, especially because, you're looking at all these teams that want to trade back. There's going to be, I think, a run on, kind of plug-and-play guys from a defensive end standpoint. Certainly offensive tackle looks pretty deep up front in the first, half of the first round, and then there's a big drop-off after that. And that only means, great receiver after great receiver just keeps getting pushed on down the board. We might see 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round. That's going to help the Colts as well. I'm okay with that. I agree with you. That would not be a bad option at all. What do you think of the option of trading back even further into the second round to get more picks later on this draft or maybe next draft? Would you? To me,
and I know this is all contingent on how their board reads and how they view it, and we both get that. But to me, you don't. To me, you go 34 and 44. To me, in that area, you get guys that absolutely should be able to help you next year. And, Matt, you bring a 38-year-old man at quarterback to help you next year, and he needs help at that position next year. And I just think that they're fortunate to be in this position with the draft as heavy of a lean at wide receiver as they are right now. They're in perfect position. To me, trading back would screw it up, at least for me.
It's logical. You can't fault the logic of it. The problem is Chris Ballard's smarter than both of us, and he's better at his job than we are pretending to do his job. And so, he makes good decisions. Sometimes they're kind of out of left field, but when you think back and look on them, you're like, yeah, that made a lot of sense. Nobody really saw the DeForest Buckner thing coming, and that's a home run, at least on paper. And we'll definitely see how it works out because the Colts needed an interior pass rush last year. And they just didn't get it from, who was on the roster in 2019. And I'm with you. I like the idea of bringing in to help a 38-year-old Phillip Rivers, a big-bodied receiver, a guy that's going to give you what Devin Funchess should have given you last year had he not gotten hurt. And we saw, we've seen in years past how Phillip Rivers can use a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver, stretch the field, the deep ball. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. If you just kind of turn on some highlights of Phillip Rivers, those guys are featured. They're making plays, deep down the field. I don't know what the numbers are, but Phillip Rivers has been very, very successful throughout the course of his 16-year career, getting guys on his team that are tall receivers that can box some people out and just go up and high point the ball at its highest juncture there and bring it down and make plays. So I agree with you, at least in principle. You don't bring an immobile quarterback in here without guys that can make plays around him. He's quick rhythm. He's going to get rid of the ball quick, quick timing, that kind of thing. 70% completion percentage is what I anticipate him kind of hovering around. But you need guys that can make plays, that can get open quickly, and then get that yards after the catch that we've been talking about, which has been another huge component that's been missing from this Colts offense the last couple of years.
Matt Taylor's the voice of the Colts on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Tonight at 7, tomorrow night at 7. They're underway with the draft coverage. And by the way, the last word is tomorrow night at 6:30. Are you doing that with the Gorman too?
Yeah, we'll be doing that with the Gorman. I think Casey Valier might sub in for that, but we'll go 6:30 to 7 normal Colts coverage, and then straight into draft 7 to whenever the second round is over tomorrow night. So we're looking at somewhere between 6.5, 7 hours of just talking ball. I'm really, really excited because I crave human contact, which I'm not getting on a regular basis now, but we just haven't done this on a serious level for 6 weeks now. So really, really pumped for our coverage later on today and tomorrow.
He is Matt Taylor with us. So we found out yesterday, and I like this, but we talked about this when he was released by Chicago on Friday. I mean, the connection, normally you can connect some dots. That doesn't necessarily mean that a player is going to end up in an organization that you think. But Trey Burton coming here makes a hell of a lot of sense at that particular position.
Yeah, it does, because he's just an all-around football player. I mean, if you go back to his college days at Florida, I didn't realize this, but he played quarterback. He also played fullback, tight end, and wide receiver. So you talk about Mr. Versatility and a guy that just understands football, how it's supposed to be played, and have a really good, football IQ to help him play tight end in the NFL. That's Trey Burton. The problem is he's had, some injuries the last couple of years. He had a groin, then he had a sports hernia. Then he had a hip injury, and he only played 8 games last year. But when he was healthy 2 years ago in 2018, when he signed that big deal with the Bears, 4-year contract, he had the best year of his career. I think he had over 560 yards, 6 touchdowns. And he's a really good blocking tight end, too. And I know the Colts already have that in Jack Doyle, but you can never have enough. A guy that can you feel comfortable leaving in there on passing downs to kind of chip, then get open. But if it is an obvious passing down too, you can line him up in the slot. He's a mismatch guy. I think he was like Pro Football Focus's top-ranked blocker in that 2018 season when he was fully healthy. He also doesn't drop passes. He's only dropped over the past 2 years just 5 passes on like 162 targets. So he's sure-handed. Listen, I don't know if the Colts are done at tight end. They might try to supplement that position in the draft. But this is another good move by Chris Ballard to get a lot of, bang for his buck. I think it's a veteran's minimum salary move here, a 1-year deal. So low risk, high reward for a guy that's trying to, reclaim some glory throughout his career. Plus, as you said, knows Frank Reich, knows the offense dating back to Philadelphia. So should be able to blend pretty seamlessly this offseason, even though, we're not physically getting together because of the coronavirus.
It's Matt Taylor with us. I think this draft sets up awesome for the Colts the way that it is right now, because Chris got to go out with that 13, and I'm assuming by that view, the first 4 quarterbacks in this draft that are allegedly, reportedly going to go off the board, he didn't have a great deal of interest in. The fact that you're able to do any of this right now depended upon Anthony Costanzo's return. He did return,
right.
So you didn't have to address that. And, with that, you had the avalanche of Rivers and the Buckner trade, all this happening because of Costanzo and his availability to return at left tackle. And now the most needful position on your team, and really it has been for a number of years, good or bad, since Chris Ballard has been here, is absolutely loaded up with guys that should be on the board with 34 and 44. So back-to-back wide receiver makes a great deal of sense to me, even though Chris, that certainly in the past has not been his forte.
No, not at all. On paper, listen, I understand games aren't played on paper. We still have, light years from an off-season standpoint to get through until we start playing games. We line them up and all that. But I don't think you could have scripted a better offseason so far for the Colts, because they're in a win-now mentality. The window of opportunity is certainly open, and they're going for it. That's why you bring in Phillip Rivers. That's why you give up a mid-round first-rounder to the 49ers to get DeForest Buckner. And worst-case scenario, like you said, to supplement that wideout spot, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, and maybe Justin Jefferson tonight, depending on how things go, they're going to be off the board. But sitting there tomorrow with the second pick in the second round, Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State should probably still be there. T. Higgins from Clemson. Michael Pittman, everybody's talking about him with his lineage. His dad played running back in the NFL. He's out of USC. Jalen Reagor, his dad played for the Colts. He's out of TCU. The Chenault kid from Colorado. Denzel Mims out of Baylor. would you be happy with any of those guys in the second round for the Colts? I think most fans would.
Let me tell you this, Matt. I said this. I said this yesterday. If you can get a combination of a Pittman and a Claypool, or a Pittman and a Rager, I mean, if you could get speedy separation guy or speedy big man separation guy, for what we were talking about earlier, I would be equipped with sports arousal for the entire weekend.
Well, plus two, I mean, I know he's going to be 30 years old, but you've got a healthy T.Y. Hilton coming back. I know he wasn't himself late in the year, but a full off season to get right. He's heading into a contract year, so he's going to be taking it serious, and he's going to be ready to go to give not only himself the best chance to succeed, but the Colts. And you got to be obviously still high on Paris Campbell, and I think Reese Fountain is still.
Well, I love Zach. I love Zach Pascal, and people know that. I love Zach Pascal, and he's going to play a role on this team, and that's great. But you just, as we talked about earlier, separation for Phillip Rivers and guys that can come in and help you in the now, and that wasn't free agency, and I understand that. I mean, there wasn't a lot in free agency to choose from, so to me, this is where you concentrate on helping in the now. By what you normally do if you're Chris Ballard, building with your picks from the ground up. I mean, you've had to adjust on this path a little bit, but you can continue down this path even if you go against the grain from what you normally do by going wide receiver in the second round.
Yeah, so I agree. Like, I don't know when it's going to happen. I mean, in what order, because I think tight end is still up on the positional need chart as well. But, I mean, we all can't be – I mean, like I said, Chris Ballard is way smarter than all of us. His intelligence as far as football is off the charts. But conventional wisdom does say that the Colts will bring home some offensive weapons to help Phillip Rivers. I just don't think you can make that move if you don't. Again, you're going for it this year. You think you have an ability to be a true contender in 2020. I don't think you can do that in free agency at the quarterback if you don't make some – spend some high equity in the draft at some young, impactful playmakers on offense.
All right. I want you to use sports arousal tonight or tomorrow night, okay? Can you use that?
Sports? I'm not even really sure what that means. What other context would that be?
Well, I mean, you combine, hey, sports, hey, we love sports, and then what the word arousal means, and put two and two together and use it in sports context.
No, I'll leave the trademark for you on that one. That'll be just yours. Just that's all you.
Man, you don't like any of my ideas. That's so off-putting.
Off-putting. What do you sound like my mom? You're off-putting.
I didn't even know that word existed until 5 seconds ago. You know what I mean? I just all of a sudden fired that off. You
pulled that out of your arousal. That's what you did right there, boy.
My sports. I'm gonna bet if he goes back-to-back wide receivers, and I don't know if he would care or not, but that would be a sports arousal for the weekend. I'd be doing a B1057 with a sports arousal tomorrow night or Saturday night, I should say. So
is that a standing thing for you, by the way? Is that every weekend now?
It's getting sponsored. It's going to be for the at least for the short. While everybody's kind of sheltered in, and it's been such a big hit with people entertainment-wise on Saturday that are stuck inside and searching for entertainment. Really, sponsor or not, it's fun for me to help folks find a level of entertainment. I mean, we've trended number one here locally. The last weekend we did for sure on Twitter, which was pretty awesome. And I think I said this yesterday. You probably didn't hear, but I took 41 phone requests and played back 33. 33. So I only played 4 songs that were not requests from people that called in. 4 songs in 4 hours, and you just don't get that.
Why are you putting a capper on it? Why are you putting it? I mean, because you're going till 10, right? Why not just go till 2 in the morning?
I'll be honest with you. I'm tired as hell. I'm tired as hell at the end of that thing because I don't stop. I mean, I do not stop. It is, me, and then Chris Woolridge is in there too, and he's kind of breaking down the phone calls, and then I'm seeing what fits, musically speaking, and putting them in. So, yeah, it is nonstop, but it is awesome, and the response we've received is out of this world. So I'm going to, at least in the short term, while we're stuck where we're stuck right now, we're going to continue to do it. So
it really is good. It really is. Like, I just think, like, the stuff like that, what you're doing, that's why, I'm sure that's why you got into radio in the first place.
It is.
Like, that sounds like something why I would get into radio. You know, that sounds like me and my buddy, back at our college days. We would break into the radio station down at Franklin, and we would hijack the radio station. We would just DJ everybody's parties, dorm parties, frat parties.
Exactly.
People would call in for us. Same thing. I mean, that's why you do it. It's old school, and it really is fun to listen to the stuff that you pull out that I've never heard before or haven't heard in probably decades, man. It is good stuff.
Well, we'll be looking for you coming up on Saturday night if you have a request. Hey, shout out to Paul Casaro, too, by the way. Somebody you know very well from Roncalli that was named new men's basketball coach down at UIndy. That's well done.
Is that right?
It
I didn't
is.
know that.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Man,
that's great.
you damn people at Roncalli get all the damn good jobs, don't you? Way to go.
Funny story. I used to pick up Paul. He was a freshman when I was a senior, and he lived in the neighborhood that was connected to mine. So I would pick up Paul to and from. I would pick him up for school and then drop him off after football and basketball practice. And he was, like I said, 4 years younger than me. But even when I was 18 and he was 15 or whatever, he was already at that point head and shoulders better than I was. So I was picking his brain on how to get better on those drives to school, even though I was the cool kid that had my driver's license. He was a stud from the get-go.
Well, you Roncalli guys know that's why Blake wants to go over. We're trying to cobble some sort of career for him. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to cobble something together.
There's room for greatness for everybody, John. There's room for greatness even for Blake.
I'm dropping his ass over there all 4 years so he can get something going.
I believe in him. Just stay the course.
7 o'clock tonight, Matt Taylor and friends, right here with your draft night #1 coverage tomorrow night as well. It should be a blast. Always a pleasure, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
All right, man. Be good.
Yeah, Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Quick break. Back with you next.
Shut in or just hanging out. Nice thing about Kevin Bowen's podcast and the latest sports news is you can listen anytime, anywhere. 1075thefan.com or your inbox for free. Interesting times, Indy. It's good to know Rhino Shield's helping folks end their painting worries like they did with Terry.
I've got a log home, and every 3 years I'd have to stain it, and it would cost me around pretty close to $1,000 each time.
Our crews always follow Indiana guidelines on social distancing. We work outside while you're safe inside.
A friend of mine heard about Rhino Shield, and he said I should give him a call.
While we're all catching up on projects, it's the perfect time to get a great deal in the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield.
I would say that the best thing that you could do is have the Rhino Shield put on because of the excellent warranty that they offer.
Call today for a free virtual presentation and ask for our showcase homes near you where you can see our finished product firsthand from the safety of your car. Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
Call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, John, for my friends, John and Chris Love Heating and Air Conditioning, 317-353-2141. Even with the circumstances we're dealing with right now, stuff can fall apart. Stuff can break that needs to be fixed. And you have the backing of the best. For 100 years, if your cooling unit all of a sudden is doing what, or isn't doing what it should be doing once it gets warmer. So call my friends at Love Heating and Air Conditioning, 317-353-2141, and they're following CDC recommended guidelines of cleanliness, masks, gloves, and obviously keeping track of their employees' health on a daily basis, helping you out with peace of mind. Love Heating and Air Conditioning, 317-353-2141, the absolute best online, love-hvac.com today.
Sports Center updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Right now at your locally owned and operated Big O Tires, buy 3 tires, get 1 free. No credit needed financing options available. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Mike Wells here, and I'm letting you know that you can bet live on sports today. Yep, you heard that right. You can bet live on sports happening right now at BetRivers.com.
You may be asked to get the test. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis with your coronavirus update. If you get a call from the state, it might be about coronavirus. Random people are being selected for tests with both a swab and a blood draw.
We'll begin testing selected Hoosiers who were chosen through this scientifically designed study to ensure that they accurately reflect racial, ethnic, and geographic demographics of our state.
State Health Commissioner Dr. Chris Bach says they'll try to determine how many people have or have had coronavirus coronavirus and never knew it to help them make decisions. Home testing kits may be available soon for people with symptoms. If the McDonald's lobby is closed, it's not the State Department of Health that did it, says Dr. Box.
Local health departments, however, do have the choice to be more restrictive than the state executive order if they choose.
45 new deaths have been reported since Wednesday, says the State Department of Health. 706 people have died. You've got another update coming up. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis.
The Pacers and Raptors clash from earlier this season. Monday night at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Thank you for your support.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I want to work in some calls a little bit later on if you guys are down with that. Kyle's over there. I'm John. Thank you, Matt Taylor, for joining us. Put that up on a pod, 1075thefan.com. Tomorrow night, check that. Tonight at 7 for the first round. Tomorrow night at 7 is when, at least on paper right now, the Colts are going to have their selections. 7 o'clock, that follows the Gorman, Casey Valier, and Matt Taylor on the last word. I know Big Joe and Sorgi and Wright, so they all together on this too. I guess I was the only guy from the pregame show that didn't damn get asked to do it. I'm not surprised. It's all good. It is all good. I'd be ready. Can you imagine? I think the last thing you would want is me on that show if they draft a defensive lineman at 34. So I completely understand. 7 o'clock tonight is when the coverage begins. Your Colts NFL draft coverage here on 93.5 and 107.5 FM The Fan. Mike Chappell's going to join us coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. The Professor John Clayton drops by coming up in the 5. All right, on board here, YouTube Live. Got some new participants. We will take everybody and anybody. I got some questions up there. Wide receiver. Am I wrong? And my nose itches. Sweet. My nose was it. I don't know why. I think urban legend with our grandparents meant somebody was going to surprise you and stop by. Weird. JMV, I think the Colts need to draft a quarterback. We'll get into that a little bit with Mike Chappell. I still say that it's going to maybe ends up being a third rounder, but I still say it is to me more logical that they address the quarterback position with a pick in this draft, and to me, it is going to be in the latter stages, if that makes sense to you. That's kind of how I view that. You know, maybe a fourth round. Maybe they surprise me and do it at 75, but I'm not counting on that. 122 sounds like a decent hard target right there. We'll talk about that with you at 239-1070. Email address is jmv at 1070thefan.com. On Twitter at jmv1070, and you can see us on YouTube Live with my rockin' shirt. You can watch me scratch my nose, drink my coffee with the B105.7 JMV Takeover mug from Chris Woolridge, and just have an all-around blast watching and listening to this show. 93.5 and 107.5 FM The Fan.
Another week in quarantine here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
OBJ for a second and a fifth round pick.
Somebody you can bring in.
I'm saying yes.
You could take some of the wackiest scenarios.
If the locker room can handle it, you got it out after 2020, bring his ass here.
What's it going to cost you to do that?
A second, a fifth, you got 2 seconds anyway.
If you're talking about it,
give us a call. Give us your thoughts on that.
We're talking about it. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, Indy. This is Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts. We are facing unprecedented times right now. And like a team, together we will face this challenge head on. To win, we need to 1, stay home, 2, stay strong, and 3, support each other and those in need through a call, an email, or a donation. We miss you and cannot wait to see you all.
It's JMV during the NFL Draft. Place your bets with FanDuel Sportsbook. That's America's #1 online sportsbook for a reason. Legal, secure, all the bets you could want, and easy to use app. Promotions every single day, and you get your cash back fast when you win. FanDuel Sportsbook has a special offer for all the new users right now. Bet up to $25 and get plus 200 odds on Joe Burrow being the first overall selection of the draft. You like those odds, do you? Sounds pretty easy right there. So lock it in with Joe Burrow. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app inside the App Store. Visit FanDuel.com/Android. Sign up with the promo code DRAFT1 and bet up to $25 on Joe Burrow to go first overall at plus 200. Yes, do it. It's FanDuel.com/Android. Promo code DRAFT1. 21 plus, present in New Jersey, Indiana, West Virginia. First online wager only. Offer limited to first 500 participants. Must wager on a designated boost market. Max bonus $50. Promo code required. Gambling problem in Indiana? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Hey, it's JMV for Connecticut Water, the absolute best. And during these uncertain times, Connecticut remains open and your place to be. You can find them online, ConnecticutIndy.com, or the Connecticut app you can download right now. And Connecticut is currently offering that $1,200 instant rebate on the Premier Series water softener and the K5 in-home drinking water station. You don't need water bottles. You have it in your home with Connecticut. The two locations, Northeast Side, Castleton, South Side, US 31, and Southport Road. ConnecticutIndy.com today.
This is Indy Sports Center. WFNI, WIBC, HD2, W298BB, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Hey, join me tomorrow. Jason Eyre, the director of The Last Dance on ESPN, joins also Eddie White, Sean Salisbury, and Kevin Bowen. We all recap the draft. Join us tomorrow, noon to 3.
The Ride with JMV.
I want you out in front of the school with her. I'd like to have a few words with you, by God.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Love the fact that you're here. Yeah, you like the Teen Wolf? A little Teen Wolf in action, man. Teen Wolf here is going up for a dunk in this bad boy T-shirt. He is. JMV, what about Chase Claypool to the Colts? You going to lock that in? I want to see, and as I mentioned to Matt Taylor a little bit earlier, the ultimate weekend sports arousal for me would be the Colts going 34-44 back-to-back and addressing the clear need in a draft in which it is the absolute best time to be lurking with 34-44 if you're the Colts, because you have that direct need. So that's what I'm looking. I'm telling you, if you can go big-bodied Michael Pittman Jr., Chase Claypool, shifty, fast, Jalen Reagor, something like that, yes. The ultimate sports arousal this weekend, fans. Now, granted, here's what's going to happen. 34, they're going to select a defensive lineman, and then 44, they're going to trade back. So there will be there would be I'd better not even say this. This is not one of the wrong FCC violating words here, I don't think, but it would be a soft sports weekend, to say the least. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline, to help us more figure out what's going on this weekend is Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. To you, does it make more sense than ever, even though it's completely against the grain, for Chris Ballard to do this, to go back-to-back 34 and 44 wide receivers that can presumably help you right away, and especially since you have a $25 million, 38-year-old quarterback that's expected to do just that?
If there were like 10 options and 10 possibilities, that would be 10th on my – I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I just think that would be so out of character.
Oh, it'd be incredibly out of character.
Because he's by his actions, he's convinced me that his value on receivers isn't as great as yours and mine. Which that's fine. But I do hope that coming out of the second round, one of those is a receiver. I tell you, the Claypool kid, I wouldn't mind. He won't be there in round 3. I wouldn't mind him being like my tight end. I wouldn't mind him being the guy I had to beef up the tight end spots at that move tight end. But the problem I have with the draft every year is the closer it gets, and I start overthinking it, and then I go, I really won't be surprised if he takes an offensive lineman, because early. I'm talking early. Because he's talked about how you have to start preparing a year or two early, like for Costanzo to replace him. So I'm not going to be shocked if he goes tackle, receiver, receiver, tackle.
Are you trying to ruin my weekend? You're trying to ruin it, aren't you? That's what you're doing.
Well, then it really ruin it if he goes tackle to start with.
No, if he goes tackle and trades back, then that's going to completely ruin it. Yeah.
Are they more likely to trade back at 34 or 44?
I would say 34 probably. I would say trading back on 34 and maybe nestling somewhere in, I don't know, right before 75 somewhere, and another one later on in the draft. Does that make sense to you?
Because a trading back at 34 would be because let's say and hope that it's for a receiver, that they believe that the receivers are so deep. And it depends on how many go in round one. I've seen from 4 to 6 in round one. But just say that they get at 34 and there's still 3 receivers that they really, really like. Then trade back with the idea that you can get one of those guys at 44. Although when you do that, you better hope that all 3 guys don't go on the next 9 or 10 picks. So
right.
Again, it's one of those where it makes so much sense that they re-signed Marcus Johnson. Great. Good. He's a nice depth guy. They get Trey Burton, tight end. That's fine, but he's coming back off of injuries, and his best years never approached what like an Ebron gave him. So he's another nice fit. I still think they've got to add a receiver, a top-line receiver, a tight end. And again, the receiver is just a no-brainer. And life's all about timing. The draft's all about timing. You need a receiver, and this receiver draft is it's silly, ridiculous.
And you need 2. That's why you're right, Mike. You're right. It is about timing. They need 2. They need 2 receivers and a tight end. So to me, and this is one of those drafts where you can easily quench that thirst. And you mentioned this, and rightly so, Mike. A little bit earlier you said, it'd be so uncharacteristic or so out of character of Chris Ballard. But there's nothing more out of character of Chris Ballard than signing a 38-year-old man for $25 million in a season. So,
right.
At least with this philosophy, you're still building from the ground up as you talked about doing and you basically have done since you got here.
And again, if you do that with the receiver or receivers, well, that's the idea. It's helping you now, and it's helping you long term also. So it's like getting a Reggie Wayne when you've still got Marvin Harrison here. Now's the time to get that receiver because T.Y. Hilton's going to be 31, and I think he's still got some more years in him certainly. But again, if they don't come out here with a receiver, I tell you, if they go receiver, there'll be a case of your favorite beer at your doorstep.
Oh, I told you, that'd be the ultimate sports arousal for my weekend right there. The ultimate sports arousal. Yeah. I mean, that'll be like the sports Viagra for me the entire weekend right there.
That's one where if it stays within 4 hours, you better call your doctor.
Yeah, well, that thing will be there. It'll be there until they start the season. Yes, it'll be right there.
But I can think of 10 other ways of doing things. And one thing also that came up was at Tuesday or Wednesday about the Malik Hooker stuff and whether there's any juice to that.
And why would you? Why would you open up a gap right now where you don't really have one? Argument. Yeah.
Why do you create a hole where there's not one? It's not like Malik Hooker's been a bust. He hasn't been. Now, injuries have been a concern where he's missed time, and maybe he's not the best fit in his defense because he's more of a, one safety deep guy with center field stuff. But to do that, unless you get a great draft pick, what are you going to get, a 3, maybe a 4?
There's no way you get a 3. I said 4, yeah.
Yeah, and if you get a 4 for him, not a chance. A 3, I would think about it. I still don't know if I'd do it or not. Because I was talking to Stephen Holder, and he mentioned the guy's 24. It's not like he's a 28-year-old safety. This guy's still young. And all you're doing is let's say you get a 4. Who knows, what you're getting with a 4th-round pick, and you're creating a massive hole because you've got Kahari Willis, who you like going forward, and George Odom, who's a nice depth and a good special teamer, but. It's all of a sudden, whatever you get in the draft is you've got, then you're looking for a safety. So I just, unless they've really, really soured on him, which I don't get that impression, I would be surprised if they would do that. I really would.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So this was said, I think, this morning on ESPN that the Colts were making calls about trading up from 34. Would that be, right next to or right behind the back-to-back wide receivers at 34 and 44 in, I don't know, the avenue of surprise to you if that were to take place? All of a sudden we see the Colts drafting tonight, whereas we wouldn't necessarily do so on paper.
Not as big a surprise to me, because that would tell me that you do that again. If a player falls there, you didn't think it would be, would you go up and get a quarterback if one of those guys falls? If they like it, I'm not sure who else you would move up for, unless an edge pass rusher. Because to me, you're not going to move up for a receiver because there's so many really good ones. I don't see why you would need to do that. But if an offensive tackle you really like is there, but I would only do that for a quarterback. And who knows? There's every possibility that the Colts and Ballard and Wright don't like these quarterbacks when you get past the first couple. Who knows? We talked last week, I think, that if they really like these quarterbacks, you stay at 13, don't you? I mean,
considering where the quarterback is compared to, and listen, we know how much Chris loves up front, both sides of the football, but if there is a can't miss, this guy's our future, knowing what you know right now and what you have right now, it's going to be available at 13, you do it, no doubt.
And again, moving up, it's going to cost you. Whether it's a second-round pick next year or whatever, I'm not sure what the value chart would tell you. You move up in the first round, and it's kind of worth more because all of a sudden you're getting that fifth-round option on a player, and you're not doing what he said he wants to do, which is get more picks. So I don't know. To me, the only way you move up is for a quarterback, which maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I think 4 will be gone quick. I just know how desperation drives people, and I've seen some drafts some mock drafts where Jordan was available in the second round, and I'll be surprised. I just think that desperate times, and you've got desperate teams, and I think 4 go pretty early.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59 joins us. Got questions coming in via YouTube Live for Mike right now. This is from Jonah in Arizona. Mike, he asked if you like anyone defensively in the draft where we think maybe they may come off the board around 34 or 44. What do you think?
Yeah, I've seen some guys have a corner, and the names escape me because I've been so locked in to offensive players. Defensive line, I'm not sold on defensive lineman because I kind of look at that. That's what you did. DeForest Buckner is your first-round draft pick, the guy you trade for, and you bring in Sheldon Day, and you've got pretty good depth across the line as far as numbers. I shouldn't say depth because everybody's got depth, but you got some pretty good starters and rotational players. And I realize Justin Houston's in the last year, and Autry's in the last year, but I don't know they go D-line that early. Corner, I could see corner because, again, Xavier Rhodes is on a 1-year deal, and TJ Carey's a 1-year deal. So those two maybe. And then, of course, if you trade Malik Hooker, all of a sudden safety's high on your list. So those are the only scenarios I see him going defense with round 2.
Yeah, I think we kind of knocked around Jalen Johnson. I think the guy from Utah at corner, if they decide to do that. The kid from LSU, Christian Fulton, I think is another guy. But
right.
I've been, and you're right. I've been kind of locked in on wide receiver and stuff that I absolutely think they need. And I've said this all along: wide receiver, and tight end. However, Mike, I still suggest they're going to draft a quarterback. It's just going to be, I think, 4th round and beyond in this case. Do you think that they'll maybe throw a dart at a dartboard at a quarterback and see what happens late in this draft?
I would say if I'm taking a quarterback, I'm taking one in the 3rd round. I've seen some people or some drafts have them taking Easton in round 3. If you take a guy in 4th or 5th or 6th round, I mean, you think he's going to be your quarterback of the future? I mean, really? to me, that would be such a
I don't think you're relying upon that, but you're going to say, hey, we like this guy's skill set. Let's see what happens here. That would be my assumption. But
I suppose if I'm taking a quarterback in this draft, it's because I think he can be my guy in like 2 years. Because again, I've kind of talked myself into the idea that Phillip Rivers is going to be here for 2 years. We talked about this last week, and I think
right.
They see, hey, if we think this guy can still play, and if he can play at the right level, you bring him back for next year, and then you find your quarterback. So I would just love to get a peek at Chris Ballard's board and first see how he has these players ranked, but see how he has quarterbacks ranked and see if all the projections that people have where the coach just kind of look and say, nah, we don't agree with that at all. And they've got like 3 guys that they really like, and the rest of them, they think they're just a bunch of guys. And maybe when this draft's over, Chris will share that with us. He might. But, again, I just don't know why I would take a quarterback in 4 on back thinking that this guy might be something later on that I can develop. It just seems like that's a reach that I don't know that I would take.
Yeah, he's not about reaching, and it certainly my whole philosophy on this doesn't sound like anything near what he would do. But would you agree with me? Do they, the way that they're built right now, and the unknown at that receiver position? I mean, don't you think that kind of dictates that you need to address it a couple of times in this draft? Does that look the way you view it?
I'd love, receiver. But they're not going to do that. You're going to have to just deal with that. But second round, fourth round, I wouldn't mind a bit. But not at the expense of not getting a tight end. If they had to play a game Sunday, I think tight end is the most concerning position. Even getting Trey Burton in here. I mean, who's the guy? It's Jack Doyle and who to really be a strong group. I think it's a lot to expect Trey Burton to be the guy to step in and be that receiving, Ebron type tight end. I still think that's position, even more so than receiver. If they had to play Sunday with Ty and Paris Campbell and these guys, I think they would be all right. But having said that, let's don't kid ourselves that they don't need a top end tight end or a receiver and a tight end, because I think they do.
So Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59. So what have you had? Have you written any names down? Have you etched anything in stone right now, selection-wise?
No, because again, Denzel Mims, I think would be a good guy. Michael Pittman. I've talked to some people. I mean, previously, and I had the opportunity to talk to him at the Combine. Good kid, and good-sized kid, too. So he's got everything you wanted. He's got the DNA from his dad from being a, Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Bucks. So, one of those big-bodied receivers. Claypool, he just entices me as being that tight end guy you're looking for. And then offensive tackles. I think I saw somewhere they could be like 7 or 8 offensive tackles taken. If you start doing the math, 7 offensive tackles and 3 or 4 quarterbacks, and let's say 5 receivers, all of a sudden a lot of talent's getting pushed down towards the Colts at 34. So that's what really is going to impact what they do too. If there's a lot of quality player possibilities, receiver or whatever, maybe they do treat out of 34 because Ballard does want to get extra picks.
Yeah, he was like a lot of people, and he said that unprovoked at the end of the Zoom presser you guys were all on Friday, and a lot of people said, well, maybe he was talking about a different year. Maybe he was just kind of throwing out there and sandbagging that was legit. That's exactly how he feels. It is.
Yeah, they've had 29 picks in his 3 drafts. That's like 3rd or 4th most over that stretch of anybody.
Right.
And I was looking, too. They got 24 of their 29 draft picks on this team. And sometimes I think like 11 or 12 are projected starters. Now, sometimes you do that because your roster is so crappy that you play young kids. But for the most part, his draft picks that are playing are pretty good players. I mean, they've missed on a few guys. Probably Quincy Wilson's one. It looks like they've missed on him. Zach Banner and a few other guys, Terrell Basham. But by and large, they've had some very good picks and some excellent picks when you get Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard, Marlon Mack. I mean, so they've had some quality picks, and they just love to keep adding young talent to this roster.
Mike Chappell of CBS 4 and Fox 59's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So I know that they have a backup system, a generator and a backup internet at Ballard's estate. Are they going to have a backup IT guy? They got a couple of horn-rimmed glasses IT nerds hanging out over there waiting to fix something?
And I'd be paying those guys $100 an hour to make sure my system doesn't go down.
Are you with me, though? Do you kind of hope that there's some FUBAR tonight just for the sake of talking about it?
Well, there's going to be. I mean, they're going to cross every T and dot every I, and like at the league level even. And what if this and what if that? And just when you think you got everything, contingencies looked at, something will happen. Again, your dog will chew through your phone lines or something, whatever. I go back to when Dungy was in Tampa, and he was all about preparation. They had everything covered. I think they were going to play Miami. And they go out there on a Sunday before the game, and it's raining, and they had forgotten that Miami had like a dirt infield down. And he thought, holy smokes, what if we have to kick off the wet dirt mud? And again, every time you think you have everything covered up, something's going to come up. So you hope it's maybe you do hope it's major, just so you've got something to talk about. But there's going to be some glitches because this is something that they're sort of, I don't say putting together on the fly, but they haven't had like 6 months to plan this. So something's going to go on, and you hope it's with another team and not these guys. Let the Jacksonville Jaguars screw up. Or it's funny, somebody said they had the mock draft with the league, and they were struggling with the first pick with Cincinnati. I blame Cincinnati. I mean, can you imagine them screwing some things up? So something will go on.
And NFL dudes lose their crap over anything. I mean, no matter how small. That's just, you know what? I mean, everything is just so magnified with them.
Well, and there's always been, even when the draft was going, when it was normal, who was it several years ago? Minnesota or somebody was late getting their pick to the commissioner, so they lose the pick. So even when everything's going normal, you have guys screw up. So something will happen. I don't know if it'll be major. And in the fact that it's behind the scenes, there's every possibility that we're not going to know about it until a day or two later. But something's going to happen because something always seems to happen.
He's Mike Chappell. You can follow him. And if they go wide receiver, tight end, that will be a sports arousal weekend for me, for sure. So if they go defensive lineman and trade back, it will be a sports flaccidity weekend for me. So you know which one I'm hoping for.
And I tell you, if they go receiver, tight end, I'll just kind of sit there and laugh, and you'll hear me laughing.
Well, you see me coming.
I hear you. Yeah, you're right.
Stay healthy, man. I appreciate you. What's that? You too, no, what were you going to say? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I get what you mean when I see you coming because I didn't know what you're talking about. It's like what the Supreme Court said, or somebody about.
Yeah,
I don't know the definition of pornography, but I know it when I see it.
I deal on the fringe of words, like I deal with words that are not FCC violations, but just kind of violate your ears a little bit. That's what I try to do.
I hear you.
So,
I hear you.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Mike.
Talk to you next week.
Mike Chappell, CBS 4 and Fox 59. I do not want to deal in sports flaccidity. Did I just make that up, or is that a real word? Is that real? Yeah, it is. Flaccidity? Did I just make that up, or is that accurate? That's the other thing, too, man. I love my vocabulary is not very deep, but my made-up words vocabulary has a lot of depth to it. It's like this wide receiver draft coming up. It is. I got a lot of questions to ask here. A shout out to the YouTube Live, those representing right now. Appreciate you. We got some strong to incredibly solid debate happening right now. I like it. I think we need some more right there. If you got any questions you want to ask me, I'll occasionally float out some questions on there too. At JMV 1070 on Twitter. Anybody out there who's a teacher? Sports flaccidity. You still don't think that's a name, a word? Why is it? It should be. JMV. The 2019 free agency was a failure. 2020, Rivers and Burton over Brady and Gronk. He better have a sick draft if they don't have any postseason. It's a word. Flaccidity is a word? Hey, look at the big brain on me right here. Give me the definition really quick. I'm just trying to put Kyle in a really bad spot, as you guys can probably tell. Give me the definition of flaccidity.
Lacking firmness, hanging limply.
That's going to be the description, the exact description of me all weekend and into Monday. If it's defensive lineman, safety, and then trading 44. Trading down 34, a defensive player, and trading out of 44. True and utter and unbridled flaccidity all weekend long for me. Sports flaccidity. Let me go ahead and make sure I get that accurate here. That is how strongly I believe. How strongly I believe in the need. And it's taken advantage. God, no, we all know that that's just not how he is. And that's just so uncharacteristic. Screw it. This thing is screaming. Take these guys. You need them. Here you go. You need them. Man. Take it. You need it right now. It's like me back in the day at Indiana State at the Red Rose Formal, which was beyond brutal at St. Mary of the Woods College for Indiana State. The Red Rose Ball or Formal, and my God, I was so out of place. It was like me walking in, and the keg was right there saying, hey, come take it. You're going to need it. Same thing right now with the Colts. Take it. The best of all time at that position. Take it. It's screaming. The board should be screaming at you. All right, let's do some calls coming up on the other side. You guys want to do it? 239-1070? 239-1070. Your thoughts on the draft tonight. We can go, too, with a look around the NFL. We'll do that with John Clayton coming up at the top of the hour. We'll dial into some of that conversation with the professor, but we can do Colts, we can do thoughts, we can do names, we can give some recognition, and we can give proper definitions if you want to do that, too. 239-1070, YouTube Live right now with the fellas. Jump in there. And you got the Twitter account, you got the email address, and this Saturday we got yet another JMV takeover. We're preparing for the best of the 90s and some 80s mixed in. It's all requests, Saturday night party. This Saturday beginning at 6 p.m. Live, local, all request radio for your sheltered in fun again on Saturday. Quick break. Back with your calls next.
Sports with Dan Dockett.
The great Dan Patrick.
I took down Dan Marley in a three-point shooting contest. We go to the NBA Finals. The Suns are there, and Marley turns and says, do you want a piece of me? I say, I got my suit and tie on. He goes, all right, but you don't want a piece of me. Took off my jacket, and I ended up beating Dan Marley in the three-point shooting contest. In front of his team, the next night, Marley hit 8 threes against the Chicago Bulls.
Dan Dockett, weekdays, noon till 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, John here from my friends at Forum Credit Union. Forum Credit Union continuously coming up with ways that you can save. And it's a great thing right now because you've counted on them in the past, and now you see them coming up with new and great ways to help you save in these times that are really tough financially. So how about ways, advice-wise, you can look at lowering your monthly spending, okay? Maybe getting food that lasts longer, pantry food, not so much food that's in your fridge that can spoil easily, reducing the number of recurring subscription services for music and movies, and refinancing higher interest debt. All great ways that Kevin and the gang can help you out. I know it's a tough time. It's a tough time for everybody right now and worrying about finances, but take some of that pressure, some of that stress off your shoulders and contact my friends, Kevin and the gang at Forum Credit Union once again. For more tips and to find helpful tools and resources, visit Forum's financial readiness page online, forumcu.com today.
Hey fans, this is Pacers radio play-by-play broadcaster Mark Ward.
And Kristen Airy of Fox Sports Indiana.
Although we're currently on the sidelines, all of us at Pacers Sports and Entertainment want to ensure that all of us stay in the game.
That's why we're encouraging everyone to be safe and be healthy.
During this timeout, make sure to check out the Pacers app and social media accounts for activities for fans of all ages.
There's trivia on Tuesdays and Thursdays, along with updates from players and fans.
It won't be long before we're back in the field.
Denny Smith here. Great news. My friends at Sundown Gardens Nursery and Garden Shop are now open to the public. Come see their large selection of container trees and shrubs. Gorgeous tropicals and culinary herbs have arrived too. Annuals and perennial shipments are on the way. Sundown Gardens is a trusted name on the north side, now in a larger and easy-to-get-to location at 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, just west of Grand Park in Westfield. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, Sundays 11 to 4. SundownGardens.com.
Mike Wells here, and I'm letting you know that you can bet live on sports today. Yep, you heard that right. You can bet live on sports happening right now at BetRivers.com.
It's the Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
Diana Rossini. They had the mock draft as the NFL wants to make sure that they are wired correctly.
It started off chaos. It was almost like two calls were going on at once. Every GM talking at the same time. Nobody had their phones on mute.
So it was every Zoom meeting the rest of us have ever had.
For a bunch of smart people, we're all so dumb.
The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe. Weekday mornings 7 till 10. Only on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
This situation absolutely requires a really futile and stupid gesture be done on somebody's part. We're just the guys to do it.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. It was not Queensryche in the 1990 classic Silent Flaccidity. It was Silent Lucidity. Close, though. Really close. Kyle's over there. I'm John. Thank you for joining us. Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. Again, draft night coverage begins tonight right here at 7 o'clock. And again, tomorrow night for the guys on the draft coverage at 93.5 and 107.5 FM. The Fan. Tomorrow night after us, 6:30, it's the Gore Man, Matt Taylor, and Casey Valier, and The Last Word coming right at you. Before I get to the phones at 239-1070, a lot of these questions via YouTube Live for you coming up here. Shout out to you guys, Curtis and Jonah and Larry Brown and JL. You guys are all fighting in there right now. That's good. Well done. Quick shout out to my neighbors. I get home last night and my neighbors got the chainsaws out and helping me rid myself of that Bradford pear that you guys told me like 15 years ago was such a damn good idea to plant in my yard. Way to go. I got 4 of them. And one took a crap a couple of weeks ago during that storm, and they helped me out. Jeff Watson across the awesome. Shout out to Jeff Watson, my neighbor Rick. Saw Ash Davis drove by. I think Dylan Windler's parents drove by and honked too. We were all working ass last night. Me with a chainsaw kind of looks like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I just do that dance or that thing over my head. But my neighbors are awesome. The DeVaults, the Dietrichs, Emmons, Mike and Kayla down the way. I got great neighbors. I think everybody needs to live where I live. And I've got some bad news. But you remember the raccoon we were talking about with Pat Sullivan? It bought it the other day. It bought, not by me. Yes, I think it got hit by a car. It bought it big time. And it was a big raccoon. Like, I walked out on my back deck to take a leak a couple weeks ago, and I swear to you, I thought it was a bear back there. What in the world is that? A stream going 19 different... Hey! So, yeah. We'll have to tell Pat Sullivan that tomorrow with hashtag AskPat. The raccoon officially bought it yesterday morning, and that thing was monstrous. All right, let's do some calls at 239-1070. Keith, what is up? Go ahead.
What up? Hey, real quick, I thought I'd spit this out there, and then you talk common sense with everybody else or however they think that they're going to draft. If you think about it, you go down that first round, everybody that really, really needs a receiver, you count up. I think the Colts are going to get probably the fifth, maybe sixth tops, but I'm saying the fifth best receiver out of the draft. Because they're so deep.
We are on the same boat with that thought, Keith. I'm right there with you.
Absolutely going to go wide receiver, and if you're smart, whatever they rank these guys at, if you look the first round and just tee off and cross out names, you cross another one out. They're so deep. If they get that second pick in the second round, it's absolutely going to help for Philip Rivers in the future. You know, like our guy said. So,
listen, no. I completely agree with you, too. That's why this draft, they're in a perfect position in this second round and even into the third round at 75 to take full advantage of a desperate need. And that's why I'm suggesting do it. I mean, I think you have to do it. But, Keith, thank you. It is such a fun, that tone is like, bonk. I mean, that's not, you can tell, people can tell while listening when they hear that tone that somebody's hung up. But that tone is not actual words, right? It's just a tone, but it sounds like the tone is almost like somebody saying, blank off, and then hanging up. It's so final, so definitive. Coach RD says, so I just go to Kroger at Emerson and Thompson. Less than a third of the people were wearing masks. The city is full of idiots who will end up killing us all. I didn't wear one the other day either. I wasn't in there very long. I know that doesn't matter. I will say this. When I go out, and I haven't been out a bunch other than coming here, but when I go out to have to get some supplies, I keep a wide berth. I do keep a wide berth, and who knows if that's, I don't know. But, yeah, I've seen the same thing. I am so not going to be full of judgment right now. I mean, I'm just not. But I get where you're going with it. My wife ripped me the other day for it, too. You got to get this mask and... Secretly, she's probably saying, don't wear one. You'll be the first one to go. Not really, but you know what I mean. But, yeah, I didn't wear one. But I try to keep a wide berth. And normally when I go to places, I get talking with people and stuff. And I'm not doing that. And I'm not really out that much other than coming here. And I keep a wide berth from everybody here. They know that. Like when Todd Meyer walks in the room, I go, dude, stand way over there. Don't get over here with your mullet. Neil's at 239-1070 next. Hello, Neil.
Hello, how are you, JMV?
I'm great, brother. Go ahead.
All right, I just wanted to give a shout out to all my brothers in Brown. I'm a UPS worker out here, out on my 150th stop on this wonderful day that we're having.
Where's your route, UPS route? Where's it run?
Well, I'm up out at 81st Street, so I'm actually kind of near the building in between Georgetown and Zionsville area.
Gotcha.
My brothers, Doug and Jake, are also out delivering today for UPS. All us Clem boys are out. My dad's at Dayton Freight. He's probably listening to your show right now.
Well, give your dad a name. Tag your dad with a name so he can hear it.
Bill Clem. Bill Clem.
That's awesome. Well, shout out to you guys for doing what you're doing. Like my friend Mike Landis is out there working for the boys in Brown right now as well.
Oh, yeah. As well, I feel kind of blessed getting in the industry after getting out of the service industry. I know those folks are going through a heck of a lot right now. And Prime 47, I wanted to throw that out there. Great steakhouse. Lisa Linsky, great general manager. As well, I know Coaches is probably hurting right now, and I know you like to do your thing out there every now and again. Can't wait to see you back out.
You got it, my friend. I appreciate you. Shout out to everybody doing the work that you still have to do right now. The UPS folks right there. That's from BT. Hey, JMV, no offense, but your wife wants you to wear a mask because it improves your look. And no doubt. Tyler Fox says, UPS team, let's go. Kokomo, Indiana. I give a shout out to my man Landis on the south side. I haven't seen him forever. I miss his 55-year-old little small arms kind of. He's got looks like a T-Rex, and he got a jumper with a T-Rex going. I miss that little T-Rex jumper. I miss all my guys at Perry playing hoop. This is the longest stretch I have not played basketball, because I think I was kind of back half-assed playing when I had surgery a couple of years ago with the great Kevin Julian. I think I was back by this amount of times. This is like the longest I haven't played since I had kidney surgery back in 1986. It's weird. I've shot. I go downstairs and shoot and things, but it's not. I'm gonna be puking all over everybody when we ever get back. But yeah, shout out to Mike Landis and his T-Rex arms with that little jumper like this. All right. Miss those guys a great deal. Jeff is up next at 239-1070. Hello, Jeff. How are you? Jeff, that didn't work. I thought Jeff cussed me, too, as he hung up. Did you guys notice that? Chad's up next talking Colts. Chad, go ahead.
Hey, JMV, how are you?
I'm great, Chad. What's up?
Hey, I just wanted to talk about the Colts draft and how the NFL season can proceed. I mean, okay, let's first talk about the Colts draft. I mean, it's kind of like we have to understand that our offensive line depth has pretty much gone. I mean,
it is.
Joe Haig gone, and
they're going to have to address that at some point. They're going to have to get a lineman here. There's no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, people should, because this is a much more deep draft on wide receiver, and the quality of offensive linemen. I mean, you get what you pay for. I mean, Ballard established that when he got Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith early enough, and typically on day 2, if you get a pick on your offensive lineman, the return on investment tends to be better than just fishing for someone around 4 to 7.
Chad, you're disagreeing with my take that they need to go early with wide receivers here. Then you think that they need an offensive lineman because there's not that great depth there.
Yes, because if you can protect well, I mean, look at all those years that Brady throwing to Givens and Branch and Troy Brown and all those people. If your offensive line can give you the lanes and the pockets, I mean, I don't care who are on the other side. Your wide receiver is going to find some zone. I mean, basically, you need some base talent, but the base talent for wide receivers is spread across the board, and you can still come out with a wide receiver by the end of day 2. But it doesn't have to be right off the bat. You can double dip on day 3 and come up with a complementary wide receiver. Your primary guy going across TY can be drafted on day 2, but then you can double dip with the tight end or a wide receiver.
Yeah, I get you, but my philosophy is just a little bit different. I mean, you can really, where you are, and you're right, that's probably the direction in which they're going to go, Chad. But you are in a position right now where you can get 2 guys that can productively help you right now. And granted, the depth at offensive line is something they're going to have to deal with. But to me, I think it's still going to be easier to find some depth at offensive line than it is to find guys right now that can help a 38-year-old quarterback. I think the deeper that you go at that position, the more likely it is to get that immediate help. And these guys want that immediate help. I mean, it's this year. It is this year, and then hoping that Rivers plays up to that level with this team to where, he's invited back for one more season at the age of 39.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, with Andrew Luck, he can make a lesser wide receiver look better. And that is the same kind of expectation that you have with an established quarterback who has been a franchise quarterback. The same things we witnessed with Peyton Manning and Pierre Garçon, Blair White, and Austin Collies. I mean, those are all drafted rounds 4 and later. And Blair White probably was undrafted. And so that's why I feel like when you have a veteran quarterback who can teach the ropes, it's much more difficult to go into the Jacoby Brissett and expect him to mentor someone when he is trying to learn the nuances of the system himself. Whereas Philip Rivers is so much more familiar that he can hit the ground running with a younger wide receiver better. Talent does trump system fit, but if you have a good, solid plan for the talent that you're drafting, you can definitely embellish the strengths and minimize the weaknesses.
Hey, Chad, I always appreciate you. You know that. Stay safe and be healthy out there.
NFL season I wanted to talk about.
We go really quick. I got to hit a break here, so go really quick.
I heard somewhere you can pipe in audio feeds remotely for radio online. So do you think we can go down the path of piping audio feeds for fan support if the games are played without fans?
I would assume you're going to have to make adjustments if that's the case. I don't think there's any doubt about it. If that's what you're asking if they make adjustments if sports-wise, any sport we're talking about here is going to be played without fans. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, if they are playing it without fans, can crowd support be established by piping audio? This is like legal piping up.
Let me tell you something that's kind of funny. I'm glad you brought that up. Chad, listen, that you call anytime, especially after the draft, and we'll laugh about how wrong I was, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. What's funny about what Chad just asked is the final game, the actual final live action that we saw on that Friday before everything ended. If you remember what it was that Big East Conference Tournament first game between St. John's and Creighton, I believe what it was. Was it St. John's and Creighton in that game? Anyway, I think you guys catch my drift. I think it's St. John's and Creighton. And they didn't have fans. They just had the essential personnel. And I'll be honest with you, for that half of basketball that I watched of that, it wasn't that different. And I don't know if Fox, I don't know if they were adding some things or what, but it to me wasn't that different. And I expected a huge difference. Did anybody catch that on that Friday before we started down this path to where we are with no live action sports right now? But that's kind of how I remember. I remembered it not being that bad. And again, I don't know if there was piped in sound to add in the background or what, but and granted, that'd be a lot different than, these plans of some of these teams, maybe playing in very much smaller arenas. That was still Madison Square Garden, but to me, it wasn't that different than what it has been in the past. Anybody else? All right, 239-1070. Chad's always really good. Email address is jmv@1070thefan.com. YouTube Live, if you guys want to jump on board, there's quality conversation going on there. You can both watch, listen, and respond, and I'll answer questions if you guys ask it up there, too. We're at YouTube Live 107.5 The Fan. Top of the hour. John Clayton's going to join us. Until that point, 239-1070. If you guys want to jump in with a comment regarding the start of the draft tonight, you can. Chad's thought was this. Listen, there's much more depth at wide receiver, not as much at offensive lineman. Get a quality offensive lineman before later on in the draft. You can't. My thought is this. You got high-level opportunities here in the second round with something that you haven't had in a long time around here that has really kind of screwed you over a couple of different times. Take advantage of it. That's why I go wide receiver, which isn't going to happen, but that's my philosophy. And Thad's going, listen, your depth has been compromised at offensive line. Address that with higher quality there and also get yourself a wide receiver. Get your thoughts on that, 239-1070. Email address is jmv@1070thefan.com. At JMV1070 on Twitter with the Professor John Clayton joining us at 5 o'clock. This is 93.5 and 107.5 FM The Fan.
Shut in or just hanging out. Nice thing about Kevin Bowen's podcast and the latest sports news is you can listen anytime, anywhere. 1075thefan.com or your inbox for free.
Denny Smith here. Great news! My friends at Sundown Gardens Nursery and Garden Shop are now open to the public. Come see their large selection of container trees and shrubs. Gorgeous tropicals and culinary herbs have arrived too. Annuals and perennial shipments are on the way. Sundown Gardens is a trusted name on the north side, now in a larger and easy-to-get-to location at 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, just west of Grand Park in Westfield. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, Sundays 11 to 4. SundownGardens.com.
Hey, John here for the best. This Connecticut water, and if you're looking to upgrade your water, which would be upgrading to the best, which is Connecticut, Joe, John, and Dennis have a great idea for you right now. You guys ready? The idea is this. Certainly you're hesitant about having folks come to your house the way we are right now. Easily understood. So Connecticut's offering a video experience where they analyze your water in a contactless fashion. They do it video. They do it virtual. They do it over the internet via a video stream, and they show you, because they know what your water's like in your area. They show you how your water is and what the best water will do for you, and that is Connecticut. It is genius. Ask for that. A virtual test of your water to go with the best Connecticut water today. Also this, it's been tough to find bottled water at times in the past month. The K5 in-home drinking water station coupled with the Premier Series water softener means you will have no water bottle issues ever again. You buy both those, you get a $1,200 rebate right now from Connecticut. 2 locations, northeast side Castleton, south side US 31 and Southport Road. Connecticut Water, the smartphone app, or your smart device, download it for great specials and great deals today. And informationally, it's all right there in front of you online, ConnecticutIndy.com.
DraftKings Sportsbook is America's top-rated sportsbook app. It's adding to the thrill of the NFL Draft with a special sign-up offer up to $1,000. Think you know what your team is going to do? Put your money where your mouth is. DraftKings Sportsbook is offering all users a special 20% profit boost on any 2 bets you make on the draft. Number of ways to take action on the draft and cash in on the profit boost. First, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code WFNI when you sign up, and for a limited time, all new users can get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. That's right. DraftKings Sportsbook has a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. And don't forget, enter code WFNI and get your sign-up bonus up to $1,000 only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Got to be 21 or older, Indiana only. Deposit comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
We Grow Hair Indy has helped thousands of men and women grow their hair back. Hey, it's JMV, and I'm one of those clients, and amazed with my results. And this year, give yourself or someone you care about the gift of hair and call my friends at We Grow Hair Indy, 888-724-5129. I had the multi-unit hair grafting. It's PAI's trademark procedure. So did my friend Rick DeMulling, former professional football player. PAI is only one of 2 clinics in the entire United States to offer this and the Artist Robotic FUE. Listen to what the artist did for Nick Angeloff.
I am a young single guy, so having a full hairline does play a great part in going out and presenting myself well.
Check out my results, WeGrowHairIndy.com. What are you waiting for? Find out why you're losing your hair and which procedure will restore your hair. Call for a free evaluation, 888-724-5129. That's 888-724-5129. This year, grow your hair back.
You may be asked to get the test. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis with your coronavirus update. If you get a call from the state, it might be about coronavirus. Random people are being selected for tests with both a swab and a blood draw.
We'll begin testing selected Hoosiers who were chosen through this scientifically designed study to ensure that they accurately reflect racial, ethnic, and geographic demographics of our state.
State Health Commissioner Dr. Chris Bach says they'll try to determine how many people have or have had coronavirus coronavirus and never knew it to help them make decisions. Home testing kits may be available soon for people with symptoms. If the McDonald's lobby is closed, it's not the State Department of Health that did it, says Dr. Box.
Local health departments, however, do have the choice to be more restrictive than the state executive order if they choose.
45 new deaths have been reported since Wednesday, says the State Department of Health. 706 people have died. You've got another update coming up. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis.
The Hoosiers take on Michigan in a classic college basketball game. Wednesday night at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
It takes him a second to get on the stool because he's under 5 feet tall.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Well, you guys have been really good today. Mike Chappell, Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. Of course, Matt and the gang tonight have your draft coverage, round number 1, which could get interesting because it's being knocked around. The idea of Jacksonville trying to move up to number 3, which would assume that the Jaguars would like to take a swing at Tua. We'll see if they're able to do that. Yeah, I know a lot of you are saying, what are they going to end up doing with Ngakoue? And I would agree with you. We'll ask John Clayton that at the top of the hour. That seems like a hell of a mess right there they have themselves in. So, yeah, Detroit at number 3, right? Kind of hanging out there. Maybe Jacksonville. Again, take a swing at it. A little bit earlier today, it was said that Miami had offered up 3 first-rounders to take a shot at Joe Burrow at number 1, and Cincinnati, again, reportedly declined. Yeah, it's interesting. This is from Curtis, YouTube Live. If Hurts or Eason would be the answer, they aren't lasting to 34. I don't think, guys, you're going to get in the first 3 as it stands right now with 2 seconds in the third. I don't think you're going to see the Colts take a quarterback then. If they address the quarterback, to me it'd be like 4th round or later. And I know what you're saying. Well, why even do it if you do it then? Which does make some sense. But if you like somebody and you just want to see, that might be the time to do it. Jeff Hansen writes this, JMV, I bet your knee is loving the break from hoops. No shots needed, I'm assuming. No, actually, it feels really good. And I've said this all along. During this entire process we've been going through for the past month plus, I have tried to get more sleep on a nightly basis. I've gone from 5.5 hours on average to averaging around 10 with the help of tremendous sleep aids. And I feel great because of that. I don't know if there's actually any work going on there, but I feel great. Hey, JMV, thank you for all the shout-outs on the radio. We've been open for 3.5 weeks, and your shout-outs helped our business. Thank you. That's Kim and Jared Cox, owners of Papa Colonel Popcorn, Brownsburg. That's South Green Street. That's another shout-out for you, too, at 317-531-3369. Papa Colonel Popcorn, Kim and Jared Cox in Brownsburg. Hey, JMV, I hope the Colts look at Darrell Taylor out of Tennessee. 19.5 sacks, 26.5 tackles for loss in 3 years in the SEC. 6'4", 255. Well done. JMV, what position should the Colts target early in this year's draft? I listen every day. I don't think you've ever said. Paul the mailman, yeah. Listen, I'm saying back-to-back wide receiver at 34 and 44. They're never going to do it, but I am standing strong on that being a need and a really good opportunity in this year's draft. We'll get back to that coming up. Your calls coming up after 5 o'clock. The Professor John Clayton will answer some questions, too. If you got them, you can go ahead and tweet them to me. You can send them via YouTube Live or email them. John Clayton's going to join us to talk about round 1 and other assets as far as the Colts might be looking at later on in this draft. John joins us next.
Another week in quarantine here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
OBJ for a 2nd and a 5th round pick.
Somebody you can bring in.
I'm saying yes.
You could take some of the wackiest scenarios.
If the locker room can handle it, you got it out after 2020, bring his ass here.
What's it going to cost you to do that?
The 2nd, the 5th, you got 2 seconds anyway.
If you're talking about it,
give us a call. Give us your thoughts on that.
We're talking about it. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's Indiana's best Andy Moore Toyota. It's in Avon, 5 miles west of 465 on US 36. All right, you're in the market for a new ride, and you're saying, I just don't really want to go anywhere. How can I work this out? Let Andy Moore, Ben Mendoza, and the gang go to work for you. Just check out what you like online because it is right there, virtually right there in front of your face. Everything that you need to know about the ride of your choice in full detail and in pictures. AndyMooreToyota.com. Again, AndyMooreToyota.com for the absolute best selection, and you can do it contactless. Now, make sure you call my friend Ben Mendoza, and they remain open. They are also abiding by the CDC recommended guidelines of cleanliness, not only to offer you the best car buying experience, virtual or otherwise, but giving you the peace of mind that's necessary during these incredible times. It's Indiana's best. It's Andy Moore Toyota in Avon. Tell them I sent you. 5 miles west of 465 on US 36.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. By now, everyone knows that mortgage interest rates are sitting at historic low levels. In these uncertain times, make sure you're working with a strong mortgage lender, someone you can trust to get the loan closed on time, every time. The Home Loan Expert office is open 7 days a week till 10 p.m., standing by to take your call, or you can apply online with our 5-minute loan approval, only available at thehomeloanexpert.com. The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Sports Center updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Right now at your locally owned and operated Big O Tires. Buy 3 tires, get 1 free. No credit needed financing options available. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
This is Indy Sports Center.
WFNI, WIBC, HD2.
W298BB, W228CX, Indianapolis.
A well-deserved break from your quarantine binge watching. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Awesome! Totally awesome! All right, Hamilton.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Draft coverage tonight. Matt Taylor and the gang begins at 7 o'clock right here. It's first round coverage. As of right now, the Colts are not there. Some rumors floating around, but that's about it. The Colts on paper start their drafting coming up tomorrow. We'll be a part of that as well. Once again, 7 o'clock tomorrow night and coverage all day Saturday beginning at noon right here on 93.5 and 107.5 FM The Fan. All right, YouTube Live, if you guys have any questions, we'll ask those coming up in a second. Go ahead and log on and you can watch and listen at the same time there. At JMV 1070 via Twitter and JMV at 1070thefan.com via email for any of the questions along with mine. We're about to talk to one of the best. The Professor John Clayton's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just trying to wait to see if our two cities are going to link up in some kind of a trade.
What do you think? Are you buying anything here?
Not as much. I mean, because, again, some of this stuff gets overdone and oversold. But what I'm wondering is that would you – because I still wonder about this. Could you envision Chris Ballard trading up to get a quarterback?
I can't. I can't at all.
Either. Yeah,
and John, here, I'll tell you why, too, and you can go ahead and continue your thought. I was told the other day that if they were going to go after a quarterback, it would be – now, granted, they're sitting where they sit right now, so maybe that's with regards to where they are compared to trading up. But if we were going to see them select a quarterback, it would be somewhere middle to back end of this draft.
Not even in the second round?
Not even in the second round.
Okay, I can understand.
I don't. What do you think from what you've heard? How much interest might be there with Chris Ballard at a quarterback earlier than what I just described?
Well, Jordan Love, I think, is going to fall, and that's not. And it's just the unfortunate thing is that other teams are going to be looking at wide receivers, tackles, some defensive players like 2 linebackers, and so I can see him falling to the bottom of the first round. And I don't know if there's a team that's going to trade up to get him. What I've been figuring all along is that the Colts could take a quarterback, but it's the second round pick, not the 34th pick in the draft, because at that point I think they have to get a wide receiver. And so there's going to be some good receivers and a couple that are coming off core surgeries that will drop and be available to them. I don't know what they feel about that. I get the feeling that Chris Ballard is one that he's kind of like Tom Telesco. He's kind of like Howie Roseman. If you have injuries in college and you're kind of got injuries now, it's going to be one where you might want to go to a different direction. So like Brandon Ayuk and Shalat, the other wide receiver, they're coming off core surgeries, and so you wonder. It's like, and there's healthier guys like Rieger and guys like that, and so I just wonder, does he trade up maybe to 27 in Seattle? Because all 5 picks from 27 to 32, they're all going to be available, again, for the most part. And so do they trade up to get a receiver in fear that, say, Tennessee grabs a receiver or so? That I see could happen. But I think as far as the quarterback thing, they could maybe take Love with the second round pick, or they can take Eason with the second round pick, and he'd be a good fit behind Phillip Rivers. But I think everybody realizes, the Indianapolis Colts are one of 4 teams in a win-now mode. I mean, you got Tom Brady, 2 years. You got Phillip Rivers. I still say 2 years because he could sign for an extra year. You look at Drew Brees in New Orleans, and then you look at Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. Those 4 teams got to win now and not necessarily worry too much about the quarterback of the future.
John Clayton joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So if they're in win-now mode, would it make sense to you, even the thought of trying to trade up and envision maybe them going after a quarterback of the future? Because that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, it's kind of like the silliness we're hearing yesterday in Miami, where Miami was going to trade from 5 to 2 or 3 or something like that, so they can get a tackle. It didn't make any sense. I mean, you can get your tackle. If you wanted to trade up, they can trade up from 18 to maybe 8, 9, or 10, and then they can get a tackle. But they need a quarterback. I mean, they got Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, his beard is so old that I think it's going to go in the Smithsonian. And so, they got Josh Rosen, who nobody really likes. So I have to think that what you're looking at is that, Indy, if the only way they take a quarterback would be, I think, in that second round pick. But again, the trade stuff, again, there's legitimacy to it because, one of those teams from 27 to 32, or 2 of those teams are going to trade down, and there's going to be something there. But the question is, where do the Colts fit, and what are they looking for to be able to draft?
John, your home base is in Seattle. John Snyder, are they wanting to trade down? Are they really looking hard at trying to do just that?
Let's put it this way. John Snyder has not drafted the choice that the team earned from the season before since 2011. He's traded out with 2 trades involved Percy Harvin back in 2013. He made the trade for Jimmy Graham, and all the other times he's traded down. He's made 25 draft day trades. And here's the little secret that Chris Ballard knows, John Snyder knows, Eric DaCosta in Baltimore knows. It's almost better to get into the second round and draft there than draft from 21 to 32. And if you're going to be a perennial playoff team, you're going to be like Chris Ballard and try to get out of it. Because if you look at it, there's about a 75% failure rate in picks 21 to 32. And where I say failure is a matter that they don't get the second year or the fifth year option. They're not good enough for that. You've had so many that get cut, traded before the end of their contracts. You go back to 2016, and I'll show you the example of what's going on. You got 5 guys from 21 to 32 that end up now going to different teams at minimum salary. I mean, Paxton Lynch was one. Treadwell, the wide receiver, he was one. Jermaine Ifedi, the right tackle who played 4 years in Seattle, he was one. Artie Burns, who was terrible for Pittsburgh, he was one. Robert Condici hasn't even got a job yet, and he's out there. And so what you have each year is maybe 3 or 4 guys that at least are worthy of the fifth year option, and so you can maybe keep for an extra year. And then you go back and you look at maybe one Pro Bowler. In the last 5 years, there's only been one Pro Bowl player come out from 21 to 32. And then to make matters worse, if you go back to 2016, with the trading back, there were 4 players in the second round that are franchise players. Go figure.
And with that philosophy that you just brought up, it seems like where Chris right now is sitting at 34 and 44, you're sitting on some gold right there.
Absolutely. Because what ends up happening is that maybe, you got analytical teams they'll say, I don't know. He's not fast enough to be meriting a first-round pick. And it's like, this guy, he has maybe a little bit of an issue. His numbers don't seem to jive with what we're looking for, so he slips into the second round. Chris, look at what's there as far as just really good players. 4 franchise players are in the second round of the 2016 draft, and it's like, and you didn't get any from 21 to 22. In fact, in 2016, Kenny Clark was like the only player that was really any good out of that 21 to 32 group. I know that Will Fuller was 21. He's okay, but he's had a lot of injuries, but he got the 50-year option. William Jackson, a cornerback in Cincy, he got the 50-year option. But other than that, all these guys were washouts, or if they played 4 years, they weren't invited back.
John Clayton's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I want to get your big wide receiver comparison because you saw DK Metcalf as a rookie play in Seattle this past year. I want to get your comparison with some of the bigger-bodied wideouts that we might be looking at for the Colts in the second round in this draft. But I want to double back to the quarterback situation. Jacob Eason, you see a lot of him being where you are in Seattle, Washington. Is he a guy that you think can be an NFL-level type of quarterback longer term?
I think so, yeah. He's raw. He shouldn't play the first year, but, he's got the strongest arm of any of the quarterbacks there. And, the way that Phillip Rivers throws, Eason doesn't throw as similar to that, but there's so much that he can learn. He's a smart guy. He shows good leadership, all those different things. I think he'd be a good fit. And really, when you look at all the quarterbacks, I don't care if it's going to be Tua, I don't care if it's going to be Burrow, whoever it's going to be, they're going to have a hard time doing much in the first year. They really should be on scholarship. And the reason I say that, first, no off-season program. Second, I don't think there's going to be any exhibition games this year. Third, you may have a shortened training camp. So how can a quarterback come in as a rookie and be able to do anything? And you see what was happening as far as, it worked real well for Mitch Trubisky. Not for Trubisky, but it worked well for Patrick Mahomes to sit the first year. It worked real well for other quarterbacks to do it, and I think that's the best way right now. Right now, 2 of the best quarterbacks are Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, and guess what? They sat the first year for the most part.
Yeah, no doubt. You think that Eason's available in round 3 at 75, or does he get gobbled up before then?
No, he could. I wouldn't question it. I think that's a possibility because everybody's going to be taking the other positions. They're going to be and they'll be taking tackles, cornerbacks, and wide receivers in the first round. There'll be a couple linebackers, and then in the second round there'll be more cornerbacks, more wide receivers. You'll start to get some running backs going, and then you start to get the safeties if they don't go in the first round. So yeah, I think there's a chance that he could go to the third round and be available at 75.
John Clayton's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Do you buy the Colts Senior Bowl love that we've heard around reported regarding Jordan Love?
You mean as far as seeing him in the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, it was all reported that Colts were thrilled. And then I haven't heard that much around here, other than I did hear it nationally a great deal.
Yeah, I think that may be a little over-exaggerated. Certainly, you're going to like any quarterback that goes to the Senior Bowl because now you have a real chance to evaluate him where you don't have the same ability to evaluate the underclassmen. So, yeah, I think that. But a lot of times this all gets exaggerated because, you hear it from the agent of the quarterback. You hear it from another team thinking, okay, yeah, here's what Indy's going to do. And, we don't know. Chris Ballard knows, but we don't know. But, yeah, I would have to think that they like him. But, again, just like we all agree, it seems like that they're not going to trade up into the first round to get him. Or, again, they have to think about taking him if he falls all the way to that second pick that they have in the second round. But, again, it's a win-now mode. And, again, this is one of the 4 teams that's got to worry about winning now and not necessarily worrying about the quarterback of the future.
John, if not trading up, as we started this conversation with Seattle, your home base at 27, which I don't think they're going to do, but do you think there's any way that Chris and company stay with both 34 and 44 second-round selections coming up tomorrow night?
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me knowing Chris is that he takes one of those picks, maybe the second-round pick, and trades back. To just get more draft choices. You've got. And it's funny because if the perception is for a smart general manager, and Chris has picked up on it, is that okay? If I'm going to be there 21 to 32 every year, I'm trading back, and you want to try to get as many draft choices as you possibly can. You're not going to pass up quality. That's why I think it's going to be maybe difficult to trade back from 34 because I think a good receiver is going to drop to him and he can't afford not to take him. And so then, I mean, you can play around a little bit with the pick in the middle of the round in the second round. But, he realizes, it's better, and particularly in a draft like this, to get as many draft choices as you can because you're going to miss. There's going to be more misses this year because of the lack of information from basically after the combine on. And so, that's why, for example, Seattle, they're sitting there with 7 picks right now. They'll make some trade backs and they'll end up getting 10. Last year they started the draft, they only had 4. They ended up with 11. And again, the teams like, Tennessee's starting to do it, the trade back scenarios. Baltimore's always in there. Green Bay's in there. Minnesota, they may make the switch right now because they've always been a trade up into the first round team. They may start to move into that direction.
So John Clayton, he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So what do you think will be ultimately the best value at 34 and what Chris may be looking for here? Is it more of a bigger-bodied wide receiver or more of a smaller, faster, quicker separation type of guy? And I guess the comparison name-wise would make Michael Pittman Jr., Jalen Reagor. What do you think the Colts and Chris might more be looking for at that position?
We could go ahead and do a 3-round mock draft, and I had him taking Reagor. And because, and Pittman, there's no question, is rising. And, he might be an option too, but I had him taking Reagor at 34. And so it just seemed to be a good fit because, they want something obviously on the other side of T.Y. Hilton. And, I think that, the one thing that was held against Reagor was the fact that he goes to the combine and runs, a 4.45, and then he comes back, and I don't know if anybody trusts it because it happened when nobody could go see the workout, but he showed workouts where he did like a 4.27, 4.2 something. And so, the speed is there. It's not verified by any team because no team is allowed to be there. But, I think that he's a little bit faster than he did at the combine.
Hey, John, the bigger body wide receiver mold has been made up, at least in the short term right now, by a guy you watched last year in DK Metcalf because of injury, who slid down right in Seattle's lap and especially at the end of the season really showed signs of superstar potential. Of Pittman Jr., of Claypool, of Higgins, guys that are known as the bigger wide receivers. Compare and contrast there. Where are the comparisons to Metcalf, if there are anywhere?
It's hard to make a comparison to Metcalf because he's such a freak. I mean, you're talking about a guy, 6'3", 229 pounds, runs a 4.3, 340, lifts at the combine. He lifted to all but about 10 offensive linemen. His father was an offensive lineman in the pros. His leaping ability is absolutely incredible. And so I don't know if there's a comparable to him. And that's the weird part. He goes to Indy, and he does poorly on the cone drills, and he does poorly in the shuttle. And so that hurt him, and he drops all the way to the 64th pick in the in the draft, which was just absolutely ridiculous. But I don't know if there's anybody. Claypool might be the one that can compare because, again, you're talking about a big body. Some people think that he might be more of a tight end than he is a wide receiver. But, Claypool, to me, would probably be the closest comparison.
So Higgins had the greater team success. Pittman Jr., as you mentioned, has been on the rise as of late. What do you like and dislike maybe about them both at the next level?
I don't know. He's like Pittman's. And it's funny because there's guys like offensive linemen like Ezra Cleveland and Cesar Ruiz. They've kind of risen up to, and maybe again, I used the line today with somebody is that okay, I'm sure that we make our mock drafts. And we do this, and general managers will say, "You guys have no idea what you're doing," and particularly with that idea from 21 to 32.
Yeah.
Hey, let me come back to you in 4 years and see how you did versus the picks that I made. Because again, there's so many failures from 21 to 32. But no, I think that you hear a little bit of a drop on Higgins. I had him going in my first 2 mock drafts to Philadelphia at 21. I'm hearing he's going to drop a little bit, so he's going to be, I think, potentially available to Indianapolis. Pittman, I think, is on the rise, and so I think that could be a good one too. But I don't know if he's risen all the way up to 34. The guys that I look at is Ayuk and Lavalley, who I thought was going to go to Minnesota. The guys with the core injuries, because again, with the injuries, that's got to concern people.
It's funny, John, you mentioned how NFL executives go look at these mock drafts and roll their eyes and stuff. Like for me right now, because I want to see the Colts take advantage of the deepest wide receiving pool we've seen, right? Historically speaking, in this particular draft. And let's face it, the Colts have, with either injuries or lack of production, they've struggled in the wide receiver category since Chris has been here. That's not something he focuses in on. Certainly it's not. But in this draft, I think at 34 and 44, you can afford to do so. So I have said go wide receiver at both. That is absolutely a ridiculous pipe dream. But to me, the win now mentality dictates that you go for guys that can produce right now. And I think at that position, you can find two that can do it. Would you agree?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, because, I mean, and particularly go back to last year because it was not considered to be a very good wide receiver draft. I mean, there's, I think, only one went in the first round. But look at all the success stories in the second round. You mentioned Metcalf. Samuel was real good. I mean, you go out. I mean, there was like 4 or 5 really good wide receivers that went in the second round of last year's draft. And again, maybe some of their numbers don't compare to traditional first rounders, and their analytics don't compare to traditional first rounders. But I think what you can see is that, you sometimes you can get better receivers in the second round. I know Seattle, for example, a couple of years ago, with the trade down philosophy and all that stuff, their starting 2 receivers have been the result of trade downs and trade ups. Because, you got to Tyler Lockett. He was a second-round pick. They traded down and had enough ammunition to trade up to get him in the second round. They did the same thing with DK Metcalf. And so a lot of times, and really, take a look at the Pro Bowl receivers over the last couple of years. Look who's emerging. Is it the first-rounders? Well, some. But it's like, okay, was Michael Thomas a first-round pick? No. Was there's a couple. I mean, Cortland Sutton, who's now a Pro Bowl caliber receiver in Denver, he wasn't a first-round pick. So no, I think that you can get good value in the second round, but the key is making the playoffs and then trading down and trying to get more draft choices in case one's wrong. Like you go to Philadelphia's a trade-down team, but they took Whiteside in the second round, and he was awful. I think he had like 9 catches.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just to me, it's a need. Like I have a wide receiver, and even though the Colts dressed with bringing in Burton, the tight end, I still think you need to have another tight end, a younger tight end brought in here as well.
Yeah, but better bring it in free agency because, again, this is one of the worst classes of tight ends we've seen. I mean, the line came out from a front office guy the other day. There are 10 wide receivers that should go before the first tight end. And we know Kmet's going to be the first tight end, but it's like, okay, but it's like I can make an argument there might be 11 or 12.
Yeah, where does Kmet end up going, you think?
New England, I think. If New England doesn't trade for O.J. Howard, then I think that New England will be the first team to take a tight end. And now, of course, the problem is they can't take him in the second round. They don't have a second-round pick. So, yeah, so it probably won't be them. So, and he's not going to fall to the third. But, I think Kmet's going to be the first tight end. Then there's an argument of who's next.
Yeah, it's funny. John Clayton joins us. You're right on target here with the picks in the general vicinity of the end of the 20s, into the first round. It looks like Tennessee has been reported to taking calls to trade out of the 29th pick. So that's kind of right on brand to what you described at the outset of this conversation.
Oh yeah, because I mean, think about this is that what they're looking back is that they let Jarrell Casey go in that just a giveaway trade to clear cap room, and they traded him to Denver for a 7th-round pick. But they'd like to replace that defensive tackle, and they can go into the second round. That's why I look back at 2016. Chris Jones, for God's sake, was right toward the top of the second round, the franchise defensive tackle for Kansas City. And so there's at least 2 or 3 defensive tackles they can trade back. I mean, the only thing that Tennessee does have to do, they don't have to go crazy with it because they did bring back Dennis Kelly, is that they do need to get a young right tackle because they lost Jack Conklin in free agency. But, again, they've got the flexibility of getting Kelly back that they don't have to take a tackle at 31. I did give them a tackle because I gave him Isaiah Wilson because I needed to get him into the first round. But, they get the flexibility. And, of course, Kansas City could trade up or trade back. Seattle's definitely trading back. San Francisco's got to trade back because they don't have picks in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round.
All right, and also it appears that Bill O'Brien and the Texans are making calls. They want to trade up into the first round, which should surprise, I guess, nobody at this point.
Well, let's put it this way. Any general manager that gets a call from Bill O'Brien on trades, you better not only take it, but you got to keep him on the phone to get the deal done and don't let him hang up.
Yeah, it's and clearly I guess they'd be going for a playmaker sort of guy there, right, if they were trying to get back in the first round.
Well, they're trying to trade Kenny Stills because, believe it or not, the great job that Bill O'Brien did, he now has 4 wide receivers on his team making $8 million or more. 4 wide receivers who are averaging $43 million. Oh, and by the way, they picked up a banged-up $13 million running back with David Johnson, and they've got to go ahead and try to re-sign Deshaun Watson, which will be close to $40 million, and Laramie Tunsil, who's going to be close to $19 million. Good job, Bill.
John Clayton's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You mentioned that you may be trading established players for draft selections or during the draft, and one name that kind of been dangled around was Malik Hooker here. I don't see it because all it does is create a hole where you presently don't have one. But do you think that there's interest in the Colts in shopping around Malik Hooker, and might we see other established players being dealt? And with that, what does Jacksonville do with Yannick Ngakoue through all this?
Okay, yeah, there's going to be established players. I mean, I can't see much of a market right now for Hooker because, again, heading toward the fifth-year option and all that stuff, and knowing he's probably not going to get the fifth-year option, I don't see anything going there. And again, there's enough safeties right now to satisfy teams in this year's draft. So I think it's going to be very difficult unless it's a giveaway. And if you're Chris Ballard, you just can't give him away. But no, there's going to be some trades. I mean, in the case of Ngakoue, unless Jacksonville's got to be smart. And they're not being smart right now because there's a report that Charlie Casserly put out yesterday that the Raiders are willing to trade the 19th pick in the draft for Ngakoue. Was like, how come that hasn't happened? You should take it because then they're being greedy and want 12. Asking for 12 is very stupid, and because again, they need the cap room to be able to sign their draft choices. I know that they're like they let Marquise Lee go, but also remember, they have over $13 million in a rookie pool. O.J. Howard could end up getting traded. I still wonder about Chris Jones. I think they're going to keep him there because he's too valuable. There's an outside. I think you can almost count on a trade with Joe Thuney because Thuney's $14.8 million, and right now the Patriots are right at the cap and are probably going to be over the cap when we see what the Marquise Lee contract's going to be because he signed a one-year deal. So Marquise Goodwin of the San Francisco 49ers, they'll probably be traded to Dallas. So we'll have some deals. But again, part of the problem with this is that if you're trading a draft choice now for a player now, you don't know until training camp if he's going to pass the physical. And if you fail him on the physical, the trade dies, but the draft choice is already gone. So it's like, I don't know how they're going to handle that one. That could be a little bit tough.
So John Clayton with us. He's via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Are you buying that Jacksonville wants to move up to number 3?
Yeah, I am. I think I'm hearing it, so I buy it. I think it's not going to happen because, if they're moving up there, they're trying to get Tua. And, they're kind of in the same boat as not the same as Chris Ballard. I mean, they have Gardner Minshew. They don't have Phillip Rivers, but they can maybe try to get a quarterback in the second round or something like that. I mean, they could. I have them being the team for Jordan Love right now. Again, I had it as New England, but I have them as a team for Jordan Love. But that could be more in the second round. So I buy them trying to trade up. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they're trading back. Here's the secret for this year's draft. Picks 8, 9, and 10. There's going to be so many calls for those 3 picks because you're still in the middle of getting your tackle. Like, for example, Tampa Bay's got to get a right tackle. They're going to be calling. I mean, that Denver may trade up to get the best receiver as opposed to third best receiver. That Atlanta, maybe Jacksonville, calling up to see if they can get a cornerback. And so there's so much going on there that Philadelphia probably trying to trade up to get a wide receiver. So there's going to be a lot of tension at 8, 9, and 10. You go back to last year, there was no draft choice trade, and there may not be any this year until 10, but that was last year when they ended up Pittsburgh trading to Denver and getting Devin Bush, and that worked out well. So I think the first trade, if it does happen, is going to be 9 or 10 if nothing happens with the Chargers moving up to 3.
Hey, John, do you think if they would have been assured that Brown or Kinlaw would be there at 13, had the Colts pulled that trigger on DeForest Buckner?
I would not. I would hope not, because I mean, Kinlaw. It depends on what happens. Because I have Derek Brown going. Because again, there's the thought that Isaiah Simmons is going to go to Carolina or Derek Brown, and it's back and forth on that. I went with Simmons, and I gave Jacksonville Derek Brown, and so that I think can happen. But then Kinlaw would be the next one, and he could go all the way to Tampa at 14. But no, it's like DeForest Buckner's one of the 3 best defensive tackles, interior guys in football. I mean, Kinlaw's not going to be that good, and DeForest Buckner's that good. So, I mean, you can see that by passing on the wide receiver at 13, Chris Ballard has landed one of the best interior players in football, because just look at you got Aaron Donald, you got Fletcher Cox, and you got DeForest Buckner. Win-win.
So, John Clayton, final thing. Jarrett Stidham, will he be the starting quarterback for Bill Belichick first game of the season for the Pats?
Yes, he will. Now, what's going to end up happening is that they'll have to get a quarterback somewhere in the first 3 rounds. If they don't do anything in the first round, which I don't think they do, then if Eason falls to them, they might do Eason. Jalen Hurts could be a candidate for that. Jake Fromm. I don't know which one, but they got to take one in the 3rd round. And, so... But overall, I think the quarterback thing is going to be real tough. But for him, he likes Stidham. Face it. I mean, he's now in a position that now he's going to probably have to start him. And whoever he gets as a rookie is not going to be ready by week 1. So Jarrett Stidham will start for the New England Patriots, just like we know that Kyle Allen is likely to start for the for the Washington Redskins, even though they have a first-round pick last year tied up in Dwayne Haskins.
Hey, John, is the coronavirus more of a reason why that there's not a team right now for a couple of quarterbacks? Obviously including Cam Newton and Jameis Winston. Is that more of a reason, or their most recent play/injury more of a reason?
Well, it's a part of. I mean, it is an effect, particularly more on Cam Newton, because he can't take a physical, and he's had shoulder problems. He's got the Liz Frank injury, and so that affects him maybe more than Winston. But what happened is the musical chairs went a certain way, and you knew a couple were going to sit. I mean, the smart one was Marcus Mariota, who ended up getting an $8.8 million a year contract that has incentives to go to the Raiders, because at least he realized, okay, I'll take a backup job, but I'll take $8+ million. And, Winston was still hoping for 30, and, Newton got late into the game being released. But, they're affected by it because, you can't get a physical, you can't get an interview, you can't do anything like that. And so you have to just kind of sit and have to wait. And basically where it's going to go is that maybe Jacksonville, if they don't take a quarterback in the draft, maybe they'll look at one of the 2 of them. But in the end, they're kind of in a tough spot.
John's radio home base is in Seattle, where John Snyder is probably going to draft about next week? Sometime?
Probably, yeah. I mean, we're every station in NFL City. I mean, we're going to be on the draft, and it's like tomorrow. Okay, so who are the Seahawks going to draft?
And then you get there, and then they trade it down, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Woo! Hey, you're great today. I always appreciate you and know that. We'll do it again after the draft, John.
All right, sounds good.
It's John Clayton on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'll be honest with you. I've got information overload right here. Anybody else? I've got information overload. I love it. I love having John on, because I love getting John going to where he's like, his mind and his thoughts are out front of his mouth. You notice that? I mean, it's like his mind is over here and his mouth is yet to catch up with it. Lord, that was awesome. Consider yourself updated. All right, let's go you, me, rest of the way at 239-1070. You guys want to do that? You, me at 239-1070 via phones. Email address is jmv at 1070thefan.com. YouTube Live, if you guys want to jump in, there is a spirited debate going on right now. You know what? I would have asked about O.J. Howard, guys, but the Colts have Trey Burton now. And they're going to draft a tight end at some point, even though it looks as if there's like 2 or 3 worth drafting. But you would think they would still draft one. That's why I didn't ask about O.J. Howard, because of the signing of Trey Burton last night. But a spirited debate at YouTube Live. If you guys want to join that, we can get going conversationally that way. Matt Taylor, Mike Chappell, and John Clayton, podcast 1075thefan.com. A normal Friday as we get into round number 2 and on paper when the Colts begin their draft, at least on paper. And we got the normal Friday going with Mike Wells, with Pat Sullivan, with Bob Lovell, and tomorrow I think Mike Greenberg of ESPN is going to join us too. But you, me, rest of the way, 239-1070. Back with you next.
It's the Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
Diana Rossini. They had the mock draft as the NFL wants to make sure that they are wired correctly.
It started off chaos. It was almost like two calls were going on at once. Every GM talking at the same time. Nobody had their phones on mute.
So it was every Zoom meeting the rest of us have ever had.
For a bunch of smart people, we're all so dumb.
The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe. Weekday mornings 7 till 10. Only on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
It's your friend John here for Forum Credit Union. Forum Credit Union always trying to come up with incredible ways for you to continue to save, for you to get through these moments financially and feel secure and not have that stress-ridden day thinking about your finances. And also, here's some helpful tips for you, too. Ways to lower your monthly spending right now with Forum Credit Union. Some of the tips and the guidance as follows. Packing your pantry with food lasts longer, not so much in the fridge where the food can spoil. Reducing your number of recurring subscription services, music, movies, you know what I'm talking about here. And refinancing higher interest debt can all make a big difference in your monthly spending. Kevin and the gang at Forum Credit Union for those tips and more. Tools, resources, and more help side on what can help you get through this and sustain financially. You can visit Forum's financial readiness page right now, forumcu.com.
Pat Sullivan here for the Michaelis Corporation. They've been in business for over 35 years. I'm here with James Porter to talk about how Michaelis responds to emergency weather situations. James, what are some of the situations that you walk into as a Michaelis representative?
Heavy wind damage, heavy rain damage, and sub-zero temperatures like burst pipes.
When dealing with homeowners that have just had a major event, what can you do to be a calming presence?
First, be empathetic. For most people, this is the first time something like this has happened to them. Secondly, managing expectations. Being realistic with them and explaining the timelines of what's going to happen next.
Is part of that process working with their insurance company?
Absolutely. For a situation that can be quite traumatic, we try to make this as easy on the homeowner as possible.
If you have a weather-related emergency, call the Michaelis Corporation anytime 24/7. The number 844-FIX-INDY or online at michaeliscorp.com. The Michaelis Corporation. Construct, renovate, restore.
Now's the time to get the new Kubota Z200 mower. It's built to cut quickly and like a pro, so you can get the zero-turn agility and effortless precision you need to turn your lawn into a work of art. Right now, get the Kubota Z200 mower for 0 down and 0% APR for 48 months, now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more info.
Visit GoKubota.com for a dealer near you.
Sports with Dan Dockett.
The great Dan Patrick.
I took down Dan Marley in a three-point shooting contest. We go to the NBA Finals. The Suns are there, and Marley turns and says, "Do you want a piece of me?" I say, "I got my suit and tie on." He goes, "All right, but you don't want a piece of me." Took off my jacket, and I ended up beating Dan Marley in the three-point shooting contest in front of his team. The next night, Marley hit 8 threes against the Chicago Bulls.
Dan Dockett, weekdays noon till 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, I think John Clayton was kind of down with my back-to-back wide receivers at 34 and 44. Anybody buy that? Woo! Not going to happen, but damn, I'm excited about it. That was a boatload of info right there for you. It was. From Mark, I'm big on the Colts getting a plug-and-play Claypool backed by the talk of either wide receiver or tight end. Man, I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. I realize it's a pipe dream in the realization of my weekend sports arousal in hopes of. But big wide receiver, speed wide receiver, 34 and 44, right there in front of your face. John Clayton agreed with me. Nobody else agrees with me, probably because nobody else agrees that it's going to happen.
If the Colts go wide receiver with that second-round picks,
you drink Black Cherry White Claw here on the
I
stream
will.
on Monday.
I will drink, how many come in not a case, but how many in a normal pack?
12.
I'm going to drink 12 on here. I will drink multiple White Claw Black Cherries on this show on Monday if the Colts draft wide receivers 34 and 44. And I got nothing against White Claw. I'm all good with that. I just can't stand Black Cherry, the flavor. But I'll drink it. 34 and 44. Ooh, man. Did you see this? Glenn Richardson just sent me this. We got a Royal Rumble going on over at the bus station right now. It says a large group fight going on at 130 East Washington Street. A 911 caller saying that there's a large group, around 30 people, fighting over there at the bus stop. Anybody see that? All right. Todd Meyer says I got to drink a six-pack. How many calories are in that?
It's only 100 a can, 600 calories.
Damn, I don't want to do any 600 calories on black cherry. All right. All right. If Todd Meyer says so, I'll drink a six-pack. I will drink a six-pack. And I have to get an Uber. I'll just have my wife come and get me. My wife actually made it out of the house. I shouldn't say out of the house, but out of our yard, off of our property, not off of our property. She's ran down the road, but away from our home for the first time in a month yesterday. And I swear to God, she walked out. She was dressed like a stormtrooper. I thought, damn, she'd be taking that seriously. If anybody has any photographs of this large fight going on over at the bus station, let me know. I'd like to see some video or some photo footage of the large fight. JMV, John Clayton was absolutely awesome. That's well done. And I got upset because there's no pause for the cause here. I mean, you just got to go rapid fire. Look at Casey Valier. I haven't seen Casey Valier since December. I'm here, baby. There he is, man. JMV, Black Cherry goes well with Tito's. I'm just going to do black. I'm going to do Black Cherry White Claw, a six-pack, if the Colts draft wide receivers at 34 and 44. I'm not really worried about it because there's no way with Chris Ballard that's going to happen, even though it should. There's no way. So a sixer of black, and I hate the flavor. It's not so much the White Claw. I would do White Claw, and it'd be easy to do that with watermelon flavor. But because I hate the flavor of Black Cherry, I will do it, a sixer there. And somebody sent me some pictures of this this get-together over at the bus station, this large fight that we're talking about. Jonah's in the Valley of the Sun at 239-1070. Jonah, hello. How are you?
I am well. And yourself?
Hey, let me tell you this. The debate has been more than spirited today over on the YouTube channel. Shout out to you guys over there. That's well done.
Yeah, I mean, I say my piece, and then if someone disagrees, I'll explain why, and then if it goes any further, I just, like I say my piece, and that's it.
That's well done. Well done all the way around.
So you probably read, I do agree with you. I want multiple wide receivers, and now I crave more than ever, so I could see you drinking White Claw on a Monday afternoon with the souring face with Black Cherry.
Yo, hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to drink a six-pack, according to Todd Meyer. My wife's going to have to come and get me here. Well, but I'm down with the program. I am.
Oh, trust me, I'll be the first to watch that happen on YouTube live. But realistically, I know it's not going to happen.
Right.
And I said offensive line is the second need. So I can see them taking a wide receiver than an offensive lineman, especially with how deep the draft is. If they say this wide receiver class is that deep, I could see them taking another one in the fourth or fifth round, which I'd be okay with.
I would agree with you too. I think it's maybe too strong of a word for being transformational. All right, that's too strong of a word. But you need somebody that's going to be capable of producing right here and right now. And I think I think at 34 and 44, with the depth at this wide receiver you do, you still will maybe get a good player, but being able to really produce and help you out with a 38-year-old quarterback, I don't so much believe in the latter portions of this draft. But 24, or I should say 34 and 44 is right there for you.
I agree. I mean, you got Pascal, Campbell, and T.Y. Hilton. You need wide receivers right away because it's definitely a glaring need. And then with Phil Rivers being a gunslinger, I mean, you need playmakers out in the field. And this is the draft where Chris Ballard can finally use his picks for luxury picks and weapons because he's got his players in the trenches now. Although I can see him still getting another pass rusher in the third or fourth round. But I
can see him doing it at 34. That's what I can see that. I can see that happening at 34 as much as I can see anything. So
well, with his love for the Lions, I mean, you can never rule that out with Chris Ballard. So
Hey, thanks for what you do, man. The YouTube live stuff has been fantastic. So have the calls. Hang in. Have a great night down in the Valley of the Sun.
I will. Have a good one.
Joan is a good caller. JMV, this is Ron Schaefer, all about wide receiver at 34 and 44. Claypool, Higgins. I think I have gone, and who knows how they're going to be drafted, but I think I have gone from Pittman Jr. and Rager. I have gone from bigger-bodied skill set to, somebody that's maybe one of the quickest, one of the fastest at that position in this draft. And believe me, I don't mind because this was Rick Venturi's call. I don't mind at all the Denzel Mims at 34 either. I mean, I am in, football love fest with Michael Pittman Jr. I think like a lot of us are right now, but I can be sold easily on Denzel Mims too. JMV, it should be with 3 Black Cherry White Claws if they draft 34 and 44 at all. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen right there. See, I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to have to drink a 6-pack of Black Cherry White Claws on Monday because there's no way Chris Ballard is going to draft 34 and 44 a wide receiver. Oh, yeah, he's going to trade out. What do you think? You think they end up trading up? Think there's any chance they trade up tonight?
I'd say 5% chance they trade up. I just can't see it.
I don't know why. To me, what are you going to get at 27 with the Seahawks, as John Clayton talked about, that you're not going to really get at 34? What are you going to get? It's got to be something other than wide receiver-wise. What are you not going to get at 27 that you're not going to get at 34? Now, maybe if you hard target, what would you be after at 27 if you wanted to get up there?
Well, the top 4 will be gone no matter what with Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, and Justin Jefferson.
And John is still
gone.
on the quarterback train here. He still thinks that they kind of want a quarterback. I have kind of ruled out quarterbacks in the first 3 picks.
I don't see it with the quarterback, so it would have to be for a wide receiver. That whoever the 5th, I don't know if it's Rager or Mims who they value that they can't get.
You got a couple of edge rushers that could be in that neighborhood. Better than what's his name, Epinesa. What the hell is his name in Iowa?
Epinesa.
Yeah, guys that are rated higher than him as edge rushers you might have in that particular group right there. Hey, I got to take a break. Jack, 239-1070. Take us to a break. What you got?
Hey, JMV, man, I hear a lot of talk about the wide receivers, but a couple of guys that I'm thinking of is the defensive ends for Notre Dame, man. Well, do you think the Colts got any chance of picking them up?
Well, we haven't really been doing too much other than the second round category for defensive linemen, and mostly what I've been talking about is like edge rushers, Penn State, Michigan edge rusher. We're talking about Epinesa from Iowa. Yeah. That's basically it. But other than that, no, it's been kind of all about wide receivers for the most part.
So you think edge rusher out of Notre Dame's the one that's been injured? I don't know his name. I wish I did. That way I could put it out there. But I think he could be like a Jalen Smith, man. I think he's a sleeper for sure.
Here, and thank you for the call, Jack. I appreciate it. The only other logical choice, I think, at 27, because of what John Clayton talked about, offensive linemen being at a premium, Maybe it's an offensive lineman if you're thinking about trading up, because to me, trading up to get a wide receiver 34-24 makes no sense. Check that, 34-27 makes no sense. I mean, because there's a premium on O-lineman and you need one with depth now and a starter for the future, maybe that makes sense. I would be irate. That would certainly be the flaccidity of the weekend for me if that were to take place. Tell you what, we'll hit this. Come back on the other side. We'll close with your calls, thoughts on the start of the draft tonight. Matt Taylor and the gang got you at 7 o'clock. I think Big Joe's a part of that. Sorgi a part of that. Is Wright's part of that too? Is that the group right there? Later on tonight at 7 o'clock. And then they have you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And then once again on Saturday beginning at noon. And keep this in mind. The last word with Matt's, with Casey, with the Gorman comes your way tomorrow night at 6:30. All right, a busy day for us. It'll be a busy night, and some great conversations have been going on all day today. Matt Taylor, Mike Chappell, John Clayton, podcast 1075thefan.com. Quick break, back with you. Final time next.
Sports with Dan Dockett.
SVP joins us. I want to go to the senior night.
It's 1 a.m. I'm sitting in this conference room with our staff, and I said, we got to figure out a way to acknowledge the athlete whose season just ended. And there's a gal named Megan Judge, and her idea was the hashtag senior night. And we just started soliciting. Everybody's got a story, and they're all proud of the kids. And we got to kind of tell some of those stories on SportsCenter. I mean, it was the coolest thing I've done since I've been at ESPN.
Dan Dockett, weekdays, noon till 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's John for FanDuel. During the NFL Draft, you can place your bets. FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 online sportsbook for a reason. Legal, secure, all the bets you could want, and an easy-to-use app. Promotions every day. Get your cash back fast when you win. And FanDuel Sportsbook has a special offer for all new users right now, and here it is. Bet up to $25. Get plus 200 odds on Joe Burrow being the first overall selection of tonight's draft. Should be excited about that, right? That should be a shoe-in plus 200 odds. Do it, new users. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app inside the App Store, FanDuel.com/Android. Sign up with the promo code DRAFT1 to bet up to $25 on Joe Burrow going first overall at plus 200. FanDuel.com/Android. The promo code is DRAFT1. 21 plus, present, New Jersey, Indiana, West Virginia. First online wager only. Offer limited. First 500 participants must wager on designated Boost Market. Max bonus $50. Promo code required as well. With a gambling problem in the state of Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Shut in or just hanging out. Nice thing about Kevin Bowen's podcast and the latest sports news is you can listen anytime, anywhere. 1075thefan.com or your inbox for free.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. Mortgage interest rates are sitting near historic low levels, and we are saving homeowners hundreds of dollars a month on a refinance. We're also getting homeowners cash out so they can pay off the credit cards, make home improvements, or just stick the money in the bank for uncertain times. There's a lot of volatility in the mortgage market, and rates are changing daily. Start saving now with our 5-minute loan approval, only available at thehomeloanexpert.com. The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
You may be asked to get the test. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis with your coronavirus update. If you get a call from the state, it might be about coronavirus. Random people are being selected for tests with both a swab and a blood draw.
We'll begin testing selected Hoosiers who were chosen through this scientifically designed study to ensure that they accurately reflect racial, ethnic, and geographic demographics of our state.
State Health Commissioner Dr. Chris Bach says they'll try to determine how many people have or have had coronavirus and never knew it to help them make decisions. Home testing kits may be available soon for people with symptoms. If the McDonald's lobby is closed, it's not the State Department of Health that did it, says Dr. Box.
Local health departments, however, do have the choice to be more restrictive than the state executive order if they choose.
45 new deaths have been reported since Wednesday, says the State Department of Health. 706 people have died. You've got another update coming up. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis.
Go Trackside with Kurt Cavan and Kevin Lee. Tuesday night at 7 on The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
You're going to eat your fat.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, Rick Venturi is a part of this draft coverage tonight and tomorrow. You guys, that's awesome. So tonight you got Matt, who was joining us earlier, Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. You got Rick Venturi, you got Big Joe Stasiak, and you got Joe Wrights. Sorge isn't a part of it. Is Sorge is out? Is it turkey season right now? Is he out shooting turkeys? Sorge's out shooting. Is it turkey season? I think it is right now. Casey Valier is going to be a part of it as well. So you guys are going to be plenty comfortable with your night number one, round number one draft coverage coming up later on tonight. 7 o'clock. It begins right here on 93.5 and 107.5 FM The Fan. 7 o'clock tomorrow night as well. And at least on paper, that's when the Colts are going to go off with 34 and 44 in round number two. But that's tomorrow night at 7. Leading up to that, it is The Last Word with Matt Taylor, Casey Valier, and the Gorman. Is the Gorman Casey still doing that from his kitchen? You ever notice you get kind of the echo sound off all his pots and pans? The Gorman. Who you guys get on tomorrow night?
I forget his name.
Somebody, though?
Somebody.
Charlie Campbell.
He'll be on tomorrow, and we'll do some stuff from Ballard.
I got you. Some stuff from Ballard and Charlie Campbell with The Last Word. That's Casey, that's Matt, and that's the Gorman coming up tomorrow. Hell, I've got plenty of time to talk to you about that coming up on tomorrow's show. Matt Taylor, Mike Chappell, John Clayton, awesome 3 guests today. Podcast 1075thefan.com. We have a wager going right now. And this is a wager with Kyle, if the Colts select tomorrow 24 and 44, and it's a wide receiver, Monday I will drink a 6-pack on the air of Black Cherry White Claw. Because that's my dream right there. Wide receiver, 34 and 44. As I've mentioned, that is my sports arousal. I will have a sports arousal the entire weekend and be glad to drink. And it's not so much the White Claw. I don't mind the White Claw. I just black cherry flavor is terrible. So a 6-pack, black cherry, White Claw, and then a ride home for my wife on Monday, I guess. Can I get drunk off a 6-pack of White Claw? Right?
I don't know about full-blown drunk, but
I'll need a
you'll
ride.
definitely feel
I'll
it.
need a ride, right? I need a ride.
Depending
definitely.
on how fast you drink them. You might have to shotgun one.
Oh, yeah, shotgun. Hey, I'll be glad to. Black Cherry, I welcome that. If they go back-to-back at wide receiver at 34 and 44. And you guys all know this. It won't happen. What's going to happen is you guys are going to hang around tonight, nothing's going to happen. Then you guys are going to come back tomorrow. They're going to trade out a 34. And ruin my sports arousal for the weekend. I will be suffering from sports flaccidity all weekend long. What about you? You ever had sports flaccidity over there? You've been dealing with that for like a month now, haven't you, Case? Great job, Kyle, out of you today. Matt Taylor, Mike Chappell, John Clayton, Podcast 1075thefan.com. Again, shout out to my neighbors, Jeff Watson, Rick. Thank you for helping with the tree. The chainsaw out yesterday. YouTube Live. Awesome job today. You guys have been great. Let's continue to grow that bad boy. And the calls, the emails, the tweets, awesome as usual, too. The JMV Takeover is going to be set. Best of the 90s and the 80s coming up on Saturday night. All request. Saturday night party. Hashtag JMV Takeover. Saturday night at 6 o'clock. Guys, be safe. Be healthy. Rick, Matt, Joe and the gang. Top of the 7 o'clock hour, round 1 of the NFL draft coming at you. Have a great night.
Another week in quarantine here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
OBJ for a 2nd and a 5th round pick.
Somebody you can bring in.
I'm saying yes.
You could take some of the wackiest scenarios.
If the locker room can handle it, you got it out after 2020, bring his ass here.
What's it going to cost you to do that?
A 2nd, a 5th, you got 2 seconds anyway.
If you're talking about it,
Give us a call. Give us your thoughts on that.
we're talking about it. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Sports Center updates on The Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Right now at your locally owned and operated Big O Tires, buy 3 tires, get 1 free.